Atlanta Motor Speedway is and was a staple in the Southeast for NASCAR. High banks that hosted some of the fastest laps in the sport for decades on end. Tonight, a repaved and refurbished Atlanta plays host to the 6th round of the 2022 Area Cup Series season. It's a pack racing package, and tonight we're testing it in a points race. Survival of the craftiest. Welcome back to Sim TV. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined tonight by Finney DeCuna, Hunter Sleppy, and Eric Wineland. Eric will join us in a little bit, but first up, Finney, we're back to Atlanta. This is the first time we've ever streamed an event at this new repave. I'm excited to see what it has in store for us this evening.
Yeah, I'm absolutely really looking forward to what's in store here with this new repave, as you mentioned, just completely changing the characteristics of how Atlanta used to be. From more of an intermediate, now it's effectively become a super speedway, despite the fact that it's still a mile and a half.
It's a super speedway mile and a half style type of event. I'm not sure how you guys felt about the real life racing. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm interested in seeing how it'll play out tonight with area, because this is the first time we've been to the new reconfiguration of Atlanta. We had the All-Star race here back a season ago in the ARCA cars, and obviously completely different layout, completely different cars. Take a look at the weather real quick and see what the drivers are going up against, Kyle.
Yeah, 98-degree track temp is pretty toasty. It's going to be a challenge to navigate this track on older tires. But again, with this tapered spacer package and a little bit lower horsepower level, what we're dealing with here is going to be pack racing. You see Culberson getting a shove from the 41 of Tyler Nichols right now. We're going to see pack racing all throughout the evening, but it has certainly been a challenge. And Eric Wineland, there are some unique traits to this new racetrack with this kind of pack racing package that can make things extra exciting tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. More banking added here at Atlanta, Kyle, and of course the restrictor plate style package, if you will, a tapered spacer here in the Cup car. But yeah, these guys flat out and looking like a solid one-stop. We'll document throughout the night when they decide to make that pit stop, because I don't think we're going to go green the whole way, gentlemen. I just have that little bit of tickle that this race is going to have quite a few yellows like last week. Hopefully not, but most likely. Keep your eye on the 81. Excuse me, he's in the 8 this time. Brad Slaughter Jr., whatever car number he's in, is the only multi-time super speedway winner here in area.
Thing to note, Brad Slaughter Jr. in that number 88 right now, following behind the 45. You see this kind of line of cars all running nose to tail, and I think one of the big topics of discussion, Finney, will be how to pass here, because this might look like racing you'd see at Daytona or Talladega, but the reality is the racetrack is not as wide, it's not as long, and that can create some desperation. In some places, though, it is extraordinarily wide. One of those places is that front straightaway, wide enough maybe to make it 2, maybe 3 wide, but how much of this will be conserving energy and trying to just make it to the end?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, even the turns are tighter as well. So it feels like Talladega and Daytona, but it doesn't quite drive like it. You're pretty much right on the nose with that. And also the big thing, too, is the front straightaway. Before, you couldn't really cut, you couldn't really make moves. You can see drivers already kind of dipping a tire down there. With the way they expanded the dog leg in the tri-oval, you can use a lot more runoff there, but in real life, too, I remember seeing quite a few wrecks on the front straightaway. I'm curious if we may see something similar here. And Eric, I'm genuinely surprised that you even think we might have, we might go green all the way. I definitely don't think we're going to go green all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I fully do not expect it. I'm hopeful, but the way these guys have been practicing, the runs, even in the Cup car, are just so huge when they generate them that a lot of guys are running over each other. You see clumsy bumps and bangs right there. Jacob Bell getting banged into the wall here in practice, and it's going to be a wild one. A lot of room here at Atlanta for these guys to maneuver, but with such tight racing, 3 and 4 wide. Yeah, I'm going to put the over on whatever the number of cautions Hunter sets tonight.
Well, it's not set up by me. It's set up by whoever monitors the Twitch chat, and we have yet to get that question yet. So it might be cautions, might be leaders, might be different winners, but nonetheless, this will be an interesting race to look at. And you mentioned how wide the front straightaway is, because they took off so much of that grass when they repaved it. But there's that out of bounds line that you see all the way around the racetrack. I don't believe they can go below that, as Kyle points it out there. It's the red line. That is essentially the double yellow line at Atlanta. That's Atlanta's version of it. And I don't believe you can go below that. Even though there's all that space there on the front stretch, you cannot use it.
That's going to be a huge topic of discussion. At places like Daytona or Talladega, you've got plenty of time between the tri-oval to get back in line before you get to the corner. Here at Atlanta, it's a quad oval, and you don't have a lot of opportunity after those kinks to get back in line before the corners. If you get stuck down there, you got to blend your way back up onto the racetrack. But Finian, tonight, the challenge is going to be survival, I think, because, yeah, we might go green for a while as drivers try to keep it green, try to stay out of trouble, but the second anyone makes a mistake, you're going to get caught up in someone else's problem, and you're not going to have really any place to go to get away from that except if you're leading or you're last, and those two places are also pretty volatile at a track this fast.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, is exactly what you mentioned, is just trying not to get caught up in other people's mistakes. That's always the big thing when you come to a plate track, is just trying to get yourself in a position where you can advance your position, be up high near the top of the order, but also try to make sure you don't get yourself taken out. You can see right there as you got a wreck. I believe Martin coming off of turn 4 going to come spinning down the pit lane, as well as Beckner comes flying into pit lane.
Yeah, quite a bit of guys in the field you just saw there from Georgia. So this is essentially their home track. Talked about Brad Slaughter. This is his home track. Jordan Martin as well. Rafe Slade as well, also in Georgia. A lot of these guys going to want to show out for their home track, especially a track like Atlanta with its historic tradition that is now being rewritten as a super speedway type of event. Ricky Springer, also from Georgia. So good bit of the drivers in the field tonight going to want to hoist that trophy after this one's all said and done.
It makes it kind of personal, doesn't it? You always want to win at your home track. And this track before was probably the quintessential example of hitting the perfect line and maintaining your tires over the course of a run. Multi-groove racing for many, many, many years. Now it's multi-groove racing, but it's basically flat out. You might have to lift a little bit later in the run as you see some drivers struggling with some understeer. But for the most part, it's going to be flat out using that slipstream. And Finian, Eric mentioned the closing rate, and that has been a huge topic of discussion with this generation car, is how fast you close up on the car in front of you. You have to make decisions very, very quickly.
Yeah, and you really do, and that's, I think, where you see a lot of those wrecks, is because the closing rate is so much, guys they really are just mistiming the moves. They might just be a little bit short of clearing someone, and they end up clipping someone in the back bumper there. And, well, with the way these cars are, it just needs just a little bit of tap of them in the wrong place, wrong time, and around the car will go.
Another thing we'll have to look at throughout the night is how, say we get towards the end of this one, if this goes green to the end and the white flag's out, when do you make your move and where do you make your move? Because with what we saw in real life racing this season, you have to make your move essentially going into turn 1. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to have a big enough run to carry yourself through 3 and 4 and make that move like you would traditionally see at Daytona or Talladega. So come towards the end of this, we'll have to see, kind of like what we're seeing right there with Travis Beckner. If they make the move there, then you're essentially in the clear.
Here's what we know, is that Daytona and Talladega drivers have had tens, dozens, maybe even hundreds of times to practice. This is a new track, both in real life and in the sim, and people have not had an opportunity to test this out. They haven't had an opportunity to practice this. Eric, I don't know if anybody knows what the right move is on the tail end of this race.
I think most of these guys are going to rely on their experience when the track first released. And we had so many officials there, but not too many leagues that I've heard of guys have really gone to New Atlanta. They prefer the old Atlanta where the tires wear out. Like you said, have to hit that perfect line in that sense. So a lot of inexperience coming into tonight, and they're learning a lot here in practice already. I mean, Daytona, Talladega, more so at Daytona, we've seen the top crew start to really be a place that drivers like to go. And I think, Kyle, as you mentioned, with the understeer that these guys may encounter here later on in the runs, you might see them migrate toward the top, just not have to turn that wheel quite as much, pinch the guy on the bottom a little bit. It also opens you up to getting hit from the inside and potentially causing a huge wreck. So going to be interesting to see how these guys maneuver around this racetrack and what can they build throughout the race to get themselves in position for that late move.
Lots to talk about as we get into qualifying here in just a moment. Fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. For only $5 a month, you can watch all Area broadcasts commercial-free. You can also use new Area iRacing emotes in the chat. You can earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise. Twitch.tv/Area iRacing. We're live on it now. If you're watching it, you found it. Time to go qualifying now here, Finian, and this is going to be probably not that consequential of a qualifying session, just like Daytona, just like Talladega, but I do think that there is maybe some strategy here for those that are nervous about qualifying mid-pack. Maybe you start out back. Maybe you try to get on pole and keep it all behind you.
Yeah, that's really the big thing, right? You don't want. I think when you qualify at a super speedway, you don't really want to be at the front. If you either want, sorry, let me rephrase that. You want to be at the very front where you can be away from all the accidents that might happen in the midfield, or you want to be at the very back where you can kind of lay back, separate yourself from the rest of the pack, potentially join up with your teammates, your comrades, your allies. But you do not want to be in the middle, because that's where a lot of people are going to be moving about either forward or backwards, and that's where we see a lot of the wrecks happen in the midfield, especially closer to the front around 10th to 15th place. That's the kind of around where the danger zone is, so I really don't want to qualify there. But, to each their own. Some guys might just want to be as close as they can to the front.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be sort of like a track position style event. I don't think that we're going to see many guys come from the back to the front under a green flag run, because I don't think that they're going to be able to go 3 wide or anything like that. I think they're just going to be mostly 2 wide, and if anyone tries to make it 3 wide, and we've seen it a couple of times already in practice, you go 3 wide in the middle of the corner, that car on the outside drifts up, and up, and then they get into the wall and they're stuck there.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation to kick off is, will we see a lot of big movers in this race? I think you might, but I don't think it's going to be naturally. I think you're going to have drivers that start out back and end up front just because of drivers falling out of the race, as Ricky Springer goes to the top of the board and JT Poole goes second quickest. I think a lot of drivers here in qualifying are going to go faster on their second lap, as we see most of the field that has already kicked off improve on their second time around here, Finney. And drivers to watch, James Scioli up in second in the standings. He's sitting on pit lane, but Dom DeLeo out on track right now on the first of his 2 laps.
We'll see where he can end up. I'm curious to see also the time separation for some of these guys to see how great it is. I mean, again, it is still, these guys are pretty much going flat out around here, so not so much of a time difference, but that's really, it's going to stress, how perfect these guys are going to try to get their lines, get those few thousandths, few hundredths of a second that they need.
It'll be interesting to see as well who can, obviously you can win, but who will be able to be up front and try to take the lead, because in the Area 500, looking at it like a super speedway style event, there were 11 different drivers who led in the Area 500, and Travis Beckner, being the winner, only led a handful of laps in that. So it doesn't matter if you lead the most laps. All that matters is leading that white flag, it could be white flag lap if a green white checker comes out. Basically, you want to be in front when the checker flag comes out. Doesn't matter if you've led all 140 laps or if you only lead 1 lap.
Well, I'm glad we're all on the same page there, so that's good news. As the 23 goes to the top of the board, Brandon Buey in the 23. Right to the top with a 31.704. Tom Bourne on track. James Scioli is now rolling, as is Ryan Hartz. 2 drivers we know will run up front. If they have anything to say about it, I guess the question now, Finney, is do they have anything to say about it? How much of this is in your own control tonight, and how much of this is just destiny?
It's really a lot of both. I mean, typically in most tracks, your short tracks, your road courses, your intermediates, you do have a lot of control over what you can do with super speedways. And again, that's part of why so many people love it, is that a lot of that's removed away from you. There's a lot of luck involved, but there is a lot of skill involved. There's a different type of skill set. As you see Scioli come around 23rd on the board here, coming to complete his final lap. Can he improve that? And he's stuck right now in the midfield. Again, like I said, not the ideal place to be. Can he improve that, though, as he comes flying, cutting down across the line?
Not as much as you'd have thought. 860 is only going to be 20th quick. So
Hunter, they still have a majority of the field left to qualify, too, so that could be worse. That's going to be probably worse.
Not a good lap at all for James Scioli. And Ryan Hartz goes 13th quick only. So, Hunter, maybe is that a surprise that 2 of our drivers that we'd expect to be right up towards the front are having struggles here in qualifying?
A little bit of a surprise, mostly not, because this is super speedway style racing. You got the same aero package that they ran at Daytona. Going to be running at Talladega later, so we're going to see some of the drivers who are more comfortable with super speedway racing up towards the front, and it might not be the front runners that we've had all year, like maybe Jake Nichols. Travis Beckner might be up there. Scioli is not up there. I say those 3 because they're the only drivers to have won a race this year, and that is, once again, the poll question for tonight over in the Twitch chat. Will we see a new winner tonight? Exclamation point bet yes or no, and wager as little as 10 points or as much as 10,000. This is the same question from last week at Gateway, and Jake Nichols dominated in that one. So who knows? Maybe he could go back-to-back and get his 4th win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very successful champion from last season. He's going to be the one to beat everywhere. I just don't know that this is the place that he has got that automatic victory. He's got strategy. He understands he's an incredibly smart race car driver. But Finian, that won't guarantee you anything in a place like this tonight. This is as chaotic as Daytona or Talladega. I just don't know that this is as predictable as those races.
No, it is not as predictable, and that's really the big thing. Like we said, just so much of what the driver can do is taken out of their hands. So we're still just got to see what they can do by the end of this, how they're going to position it, and I think also the big thing too is again working with their teammates. We saw that be a big factor across all three series when we were last at Daytona. A lot of guys working with their teammates, or at least trying to work with their teammates. That being said, with some late race cautions, you can take that factor out, and you have no teammates, no allies to work with, and it's just all by yourself near the front.
There's 14th quickest for Jake Nichols. Everybody else in front of him on the board with 3:30 left has yet to win a race this season. And Eric has joined us back in the booth as we look at Chris Seinfein and see what lap time he can put down.
I got a couple notes for you guys here from pit lane. So we have 44 cars registered for the race. I don't know if you guys have already documented this or not, but someone is going home tonight not able to race. And currently, that's Brandon Zimmerman in car 20. He's the slowest of the Go or Go Homers that has taken a time. Of those that have not taken times yet, I can't quite tell running through here if any of them have not taken times yet, but I would fully expect them to take a time since they know they are Go or Go Homers. So yeah, not a great qualifying for Brandon Zimmerman there in car 20. Also a note for Mr. Hire here, it is Bowie.
Bowie, okay, I was
like
close.
Just like the thing in the ocean. He did clarify that for us, and was very thankful that we complimented on his blazing fast lap that I think, in my opinion, will hold up for pole.
I was going to say, Bowie's going to float right to the top of the order right now in qualifying. 31.704 by 6,000ths of a second. He's got provisional pole. A couple other drivers on track, including Gabriel Ellison here. Some names, Hunter, that we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, Go or Go Homers, this is a tough one. You go back to qualifying, this is not a place that you want to have that on your mind because it's pretty hard to control your own destiny here in qualifying. Not a lot separates the fastest from the slowest.
No, absolutely. And Gabriel Ellison, part of Lucky Doug Motorsports group. We've seen these guys up towards the front as of late. Douglas Dew being part of that team, third quickest on the board. And we saw Aaron Smith last week at Gateway, had a roller coaster of a race and still had a pretty solid finish there at the very end. So we'll see if Lucky Ducks can continue to move forward on the leaderboard. For Gabriel Ellison, though, he only moves up to 21st quickest.
21st place, and about 8 drivers have not taken times, and they are not going to have the opportunity to qualify. However, I don't think anyone that didn't qualify is on the Go or Go Homer list, so they should mean that everyone that has not qualified is safely in, so that would send Brandon Zimmerman home if that's the case, Eric.
Yeah, you hit that one right on the head. I was actually double checking that right as you were talking about it, Kyle. So those that have not qualified: Shane Abbey, Tyler Nichols, Delonte Ballard, Alex Weaver, Garrett Grant, David Weishart, Dwayne Culberson, Andrew Player, Matthew Bell. Those guys are all chartered on a team here in the Area Cup Series, which means of those that are non-chartered drivers, Brandon Zimmerman, unfortunately the slowest. He will be going home tonight. Gets credit for attempting a start here in Area, but does not actually get to race tonight.
That is a bummer. Finian, as we get set for this race this evening, your thoughts on the drivers that did not qualify? Is that the strategy, you think?
I mean, again, it really depends on if it's a coordinated effort. I think if you're in the back with your teammates, I think it's a perfect strategy. You get your buddies, get them all in the back where you're potentially safe. I say potentially because they're not guaranteed that you're safe. You got to approach the wreck at some point. And by that point, you hope that it's scattered and dissipated. So I do feel like that's the better strategy. It's usually what I try to do for these longer races, to just kind of sit in the back, let the race play out, let the big wrecks hopefully happen and pass you, and then you can start to move yourself to the front after the race starts to get going.
I'm really interested in seeing how this one goes. Looking back at the Area 500, had a good bit of leaders and lead changes. As mentioned, 11 different leaders, 15 lead changes, 5 yellows for 15 laps. And with how tight the track is compared to Daytona and Talladega, I feel like we're going to hit the nail on the head here for about 8 or 9 cautions, I want to say.
So with about 4 minutes left here in this warm-up period, this might get accelerated just a bit, but we do have a moment to talk about this racetrack and the resurfacing it's gotten. It's pretty smooth all the way around. Big bump at the exit of turn 2, though, and Finian in traffic. While this place looks glassy smooth in practice, it's not quite. You can actually see the waviness in the wall. They took this place all the way down to the dirt and started over, but that doesn't mean that it's glassy smooth or that it's the easiest place to drive around. Maybe on the bottom by yourself, but 3 wide, any little undulation is going to be felt inside the cockpit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the last thing you want is to have that undulation. Might throw you off a little bit in these corners. Not a whole lot. Again, it's relatively smooth, but like I said, not perfectly smooth like we've seen with some other tracks after their repay. But yeah, that's definitely one thing you want to be careful of is being prepared to encounter those bumps at speed when you got a guy an inch from your quarter panel.
So 140 laps is the race distance tonight. It's about time to roll through our Roasted Gems Coffee starting lineup. Fans, be sure to visit Roasted Gems Coffee for some of the finest coffee from all over the world. Discount code Area iRacing for 10% off your order at roastedgems.com. And with that, let's head down to the starting lineup here and get rolling through our Roasted Gems Coffee starting grid. On the front row, it's Brandon Bowie in the number 23. Ricky Springer in the number 18 starts to his outside.
In behind them, number 2, Douglas Newbigin in the 71, Cosmin Yonishiwo in the 84 in 4th.
Starting in row number 3, it's going to be Rafe Slate in the number 8. Tom Bourne will roll off in 6th in the number 16 on the outside of row 3.
Back in row 4, Jonathan Cogswell to the inside of the 26. 77 to Jacob Bell, going to be in the outside in 8th place.
Starting 9th in the inside of row 5 is Alan Ballacino in the number 70. He'll start alongside Ed Robertson in the number 64 in 10th.
DT Bull's going to be rolling off in 11th and 32. Greg Mitchell in the 2 in 12th place.
And in 13th place, Brad Slaughter Jr. in the number 88. Danny Ware starts 14th in the 00.
Jake Nichols going to be in the 91 in 15. Ryan Swan next to him, the 19 in 16th.
Starting 17th is Jordan Martin in the number 11 and Seth Noel in 18th in the number 1.
Chris Seidenfeld is going to be in 45 and 19th. Ryan Hart's in the 3-car, rounding out your top 20.
Starting 21st is Gabriel Ellison in the number 27. Dom DeLeo's Ford Mustang rolls off 22nd in the number 22 car.
Michael Curran's going to be in the 24 car in 23rd. Chris Rabel next to him, the 29 in 24th place.
25th is going to be Brandon 6 in the number 66. Bryce Senesac starts 26th place on the outside of row 13 in the 09.
Michael Sturgill is going to be rolling off in the 17 car, 27th. Bronson Stafford next to him, the 61 in 28th.
29th place is Kyle Sieg in the number 39. Travis Beckner, the winner of the season opener at Daytona, starts in 30th.
Back in 31st, Jeff Ryan in 37 and 31st. James Kelly all the way back down the order in 32nd.
33rd is Brandon Zimmerman. No, he will not because he's a go-homer. So Mark Patterson will line up in 34th.
Aaron Smith in the 72 and 30 in the 35th. Matthew Bell in the 90 and 36.
37th place is David Weishart in the 33. Delonte Ballard starts 38th in the number 21.
Alex Weaver in the 4 and 39th. Shane Abbey rolling off in the 12th car in 40th.
41st place is Garrett Grant in the number 5 alongside Tyler Nichols in the number 41.
And finally, we're back at the end of the order. 81st, Dwayne Cobus in the 81, 43rd, Andrew Player, 44th in the 13.
That was a full starting lineup. Time for a full race. 140 laps, round 6 from Atlanta for the Area Cup Series. We're green, we're racing.
Oh, and the wrecking in the background. The 39 spun around, and I think the caution's immediately going to fly.
Well, that didn't take long.
Wow. Oh, and they're crashing, pulling away.
I saw that brewing in the background. I saw a bit of a stack up. It started around the front to the middle part of the pack, and it dominoed all the way down the inside lane towards the back end.
Well, just like that, first SimRap Market replay of the evening. Go back a little further and see how this sort of kicked off. Maybe if you're looking from high above, we can see the stack up starts up the road a little bit, but the 39 and 37 caught up in this. Classic chain reaction there, Hunter.
Inside line just completely stacked up, and then 37 of Ryan nowhere to go from 39, and Kyle Sieg also had nowhere to go as well. It's just an accordion effect, and you can't really move that much, especially on the initial start, and you're not expecting this. That's really, really strange.
Didn't even get to the start-finish line before they were turned around, so caution number 1 happens on lap 0. As we get everybody racked up and stacked up again, Ricky Springer in that short time got to the race lead. So Finian, he is our leader as we hit lap number 2 behind the safety car.
Yeah, and actually, you see the one with Seth Noel ended up starting from pit lane, so this caution actually helped him out very much because he will not be able, not be going a lap down and be able to get the wave around. So he'll be able to go stay on the lead lap. Otherwise, he probably would have fallen a lap down early on.
And he's leading or being led by the pace car. So I'm already confused. We've only done one lap, and I'm so confused.
Well, Seth Noel, not even, again, I realize that there's some kind of issue with the software, and if you start from the pits, you might as well not exist. ATVO doesn't let go or the start from the rear drivers. Aaron Smith in the number 72 is on pit lane. What just happened? Kyle Sieg is spun around again.
Oh, what? He's having a hard time
Is it
today.
a full moon tonight or something? What's going on out there?
It was a few nights ago, I remember that.
Oh, he tried to hit pit lane, got on the transition, then got the grass, and just turned around.
This is also his home track too, but I think his car is haunted by ghosts or something. This is the second time he's been spinning.
I think he's haunted by the ghost of Nikita Mazepin, just constantly spinning out.
Oof. So with that said, first lap under yellow as we follow the pace car here. Brandon Bowie right behind the number 18. Let's talk restarts. Hunter, I want to start with you on this one. Restart lane, top, bottom, do you care? Does it matter here at Atlanta with this new repave?
I'm always going to say restart on the bottom at a super speedway. Although for this track, I don't really think it matters unless you are on the inside and you go, because once you get into the corners, more specifically 3 and 4, that run on the outside essentially is countered by the lower line going in the corner. But something that we wouldn't see like at Daytona or Talladega, if you have that run on the outside line, the turns are wide enough for you to carry that momentum through the turn, but it kind of stalls out here in Atlanta with how tight these corners are.
So 1 to green here. We get the one car sent back around to join the tail of the field. His starting from the pits has just turned into a starting from the rear, so we're going to re-rack this, restack this as a 136-lap race. Springer on the inside, Bowie on the outside. Noshiwu in the 84 on the inside of row 2. Then Douglas Newbigging, who's had a couple good weeks back-to-back, at least in terms of early race pace. Tom Bourne, then Jacob Bell make up your third row here, Finian, as we get set for this restart.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting everyone racked and stacked and ready to go here. It'll effectively be the initial start because we didn't really get going that far away. So I'm sure these drivers are anxious and just ready to go to kind of get this underway and get up to speed.
Heading down the backstretch now. Set for the restart. A couple of drivers all towards the tail. Getting single filed out. And when the pace car pulls off, we'll be going back racing on lap number 5. If this race goes green from start to finish, or I guess from restart to finish, about an hour and 12 minutes. This is a pretty long race as far as race distances go. So keeping it green will make these laps tick away very, very quickly. Under yellow, it will slow down the pace quite a bit. But Ricky Springer going to try to keep it up front. Started on the front row, but will restart the race in first place. Safety car makes the hard left back onto pit lane, and it is time to go racing again from Atlanta. Here we go. Lap 5 of 140, back underway. Green flag back in the air, underway again for the Area Cup Series. Man, they ripped that high line very, very quickly. Here comes Bowie in the 23 with a big run, and the 71 of Newbigging behind him. This is going to be wild to watch, Vinny, and I was looking forward to this. High speeds, high banks, and pack racing at Atlanta.
Yeah, and speaking of which, the high line's looking pretty good. I'm hearing word of a wreck in the background. I think they're good near the back of the field. They've sorted themselves out for the most part.
Yeah, I saw Brandon 6 there in the 66 slow on the apron. Might be something of his part. Take a look at the Simrad Market replay.
Oh, yeah, the 29 gets the boot, and big stack up here.
Wow.
Everybody scatters. They somehow keep it straight, though.
They kept it straight, going faster by 3 times the amount that they did on the front stretch. That's pretty insane. And here comes Bowie on the outside.
Big run here for the number 23, taking that run to the outside lane. Two distinct packs already forming up, all the way back to 27th place Chris Rabel, the top 26, all in a different group. And Newbegin giving a big shove to Bowie here, pushing on the left rear quarter panel. You hear him lift Finney, and that gets very sketchy very quickly.
Yeah, you have that look, and that's what I was talking about, earlier, hitting someone in the wrong place, wrong time. Very easy to start a wreck that way. Good thing he backed off, but you can see already guys starting to think about making some moves.
Yeah, starting to tend to... Ooh, got a little something there going on the track, and got Eric Weiland up here in the booth.
Hey guys, Chris Rabel not feeling comfortable out there, as we just saw.
Did you get hooked, Chris?
No, it did the whole iRacing sucked me into the car in front of me deal.
He later on said it just was a weird feeling, so not a good feeling in the 27, thus the almost wreck, or excuse me, the 29, running 27th. Did not like the feeling of that. Now he has somewhat lost the pack here. These guys have a lot of work if they're going to catch back up to the lead pack.
Yeah, they've dropped back, and they're kind of following Chris Rabel, who seems pretty tentative right now. And the car's not handling well, especially if you don't have any control over that handling, Finian. You're not going to be comfortable pushing it. Maybe just give the tires a couple of laps to settle in, wear in, get some understeer built in the car, and then you're controlling it by lifting throttle instead of having to, to kind of balance that slip and slide early in the race.
Yeah, guys, just trying to balance that early on. And again, a lot of this early part of the race is kind of getting a feel for your car. And you're going to see actually the field starting to separate into two groups, mainly because of that caution we nearly had on that restart. You can see already kind of this beginning pack, a small pack in the middle, and then a big pack towards the back. So we're on board with John Cogswell ripping around the top side.
Cogswell has avoided so many wrecks in the last couple of races, and wouldn't surprise me if he avoids another one here, unless he's a part of this, like say we're around Jacob Bell, he's right around the 10th spot or so. But looking for these guys to just kind of take it easy for the first 10, 20 laps or so. I don't think we're going to see much 3 wide yet. Maybe towards the end we'll start to see it, but these guys just trying to ride it out, get a feel for the car.
Yeah, and at the moment I think there's a lot of experimentation happening. Eric mentioned earlier that when this track first came out and it was racing, official racing, a lot of people jumped on board, but some of those drivers that might not have raced that week or haven't had the opportunity to play in a big pack like this, they have yet to really understand what happens in a big pack, aerodynamically at a speedway. This is not a super speedway, however we like to think about it. This is a tight racetrack to be doing the speeds that we're doing in the draft here, so it's pretty dicey at the moment. You see the 84 have a big wiggle down the front stretch.
Yeah, a lot of big wiggles there in the front. Again, I'm curious how much of these are wiggles from handling issues or guys just trying to make a look and then all of a sudden realizing the door's closed and then a little bit of an evasive action. Again, like Hunter said, I don't think we're going to see 3 wide for quite a while, but you never know. Depending on whenever these guys feel like the time's to go, they might make that a little earlier than we think.
Looking above the racetrack now and get a good look at what these drivers are doing coming out of the turn. You see that run on the top it's kind of there, but as soon as they get into the middle of the corner here, it just goes away, and that bottom starts to pull away a bit. But here comes Bowie with a run on the outside, got to the quarter panel of Springer, now has a nose out in front. Can he keep it?
Yeah, Newbegin was experimenting earlier with the bump draft and seeing how effective it was to push people, and I don't think his experiment is done just yet. I'm not sure how comfortable I would be with a pack of cars to my inside and being sandwiched between the wall. I think it's a lot safer to be on the bottom. Maybe Newbegin just trying to see if he can push the 23 ahead and then drop down to the inside, but not a lot of progress by anybody, and I think this goes back to what I think it was either Eric's or Hunter's prediction, Finian, that we weren't going to see a lot of movers in this race because it's just so challenging to get a run big enough to separate yourself from the other row beside you.
Yeah, that's just the thing, is that this track is not that wide. It's, I would say, probably closest to Daytona. Obviously, Talladega is really wide. That you can do 3 wide comfortably. Here, you kind of obviously fit 3 cars, and we definitely, again, we'll see that later on, but it's just a little too risky, some of these guys feel, to make a move, and then other than that, you're pretty much stuck double file the entire way around.
I would like to say that it was me who said that it would be about track position for qualifying, and if you're up towards the front, then you're pretty much set, because kind of what we see in this front row, other than the line change, that really hasn't changed this field much. Springer still holding his own on the bottom, Bowie on his own on the outside, and not really not a whole lot of room there for much people to go. As Ed Robertson had a little moment there.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of drivers that are not super comfortable getting pushed, being in certain lanes. There's going to be a lot of experimentation. Have a look at the weather information, though. We touched on it briefly before. It's still hot out there, and in a vacuum, 96 degrees is pretty warm and can be slippery. When you got other cars around you, it's far from a vacuum. It's extremely pushy out there on the inside and extremely loose on the outside. So drivers really just trying to find a way to settle down and get comfortable in a long run here, because it does appear like we're going to get some long runs tonight.
Yeah, the guys still double file up, trying to check on how the other packs are doing. Mostly single file out towards the back. You can see everyone there in a very long line of cars, I think stretching back from, I want to say, Michael Curran all the way on back. You see everyone pretty much running single file, almost kind of running like a normal racing line from the top side down low. Some guys ripping the top. There's Nichols all the way back. Jake Nichols in 28th. And again, this is not really necessarily a bad thing. He's just kind of hanging out, finds this place comfortable. He's just going to be hanging out here. Got some teammates in behind him.
He hasn't fallen off yet. This is just Jake Nichols being Jake Nichols, just biding his time. Still over 120 laps left in this race, running around mid-pack, trying to feel the car out in dirty air. That way, when he gets up towards the front, he knows what his car is capable of. And Eric has joined us back in the booth. Eric, what you got?
Hey guys, I got some great radio right here from, this is Lucky Duck Motorsports, Douglas Newbigging, Gabriel Ellison, Jonathan Cogswell, Aaron Smith II, and Michael Sturgill all on the channel here. But this is Newbigging and Ellison back and forth.
I just say I kind of find it funny that this is the quietest chat's ever been, and it's at a super speedway.
Yeah, you gotta focus on this, man. Daytona, I'm driving one hand. I'm not doing this.
Trying not to fall asleep.
The trying not to fall asleep there was Aaron Smith II, who was riding at the tail end of the field. Was complaining earlier about being side drafted for 40th place. That was an issue for him. But since single filed out, as you see them starting to kind of accordion back together, the two packs coming back as one. That single file line way back there. Meanwhile, up front, Brandon Bowie continuing to get good pushes from Douglas Newbigging.
That's funny radio there. Drivers really having to focus. It's getting dicey back there. It's at the 88 in the middle. Yeah, it is. Brad Slaughter Jr., hometown boy, slicing and dicing through the middle.
Cogswell just getting bullied out of lane as Slaughter made the move, and then Bronson Stafford also got on by. Now, I want to talk about Bronson Stafford. We're talking about guys not really making a whole lot of moves. Tell that to Bronson Stafford. He's moved up from 28th all the way to 6th, up 22 spots, and he's still making up spots. He's going to go flying around Rafe Slate to the top side, doing a great job, and a very slow car in the bottom lane.
Jacob Bell.
That was Jacob Bell. He just pulled out. He said, I'm not doing this. I am not doing this. He got up to the front. He's like, okay, that's all I need. I'm backing out. And I was just going to say, Ricky Springer got shuffled around, lost a few positions, but then shuffled himself back up towards the front. Douglas Newbigging, who did shuffle up towards the front, kind of traded places with the Springer machine. Now he's shuffled towards the back. Rafe Slate also made a move at the lead, got up to second. Now he's back towards fifth. So we had some shuffling going on. Brad Slaughter, where did he come from? He's
caution
third now.
Rubble, and it's Jeff Ryan in the 37 again. And he was running, I thought, at the tail, but that turns out it wasn't the case. Let's go back and see on the Sim Market replay. We can get a good idea of what just happened to the 37. Now, he was in the pack, the 66 of Brandon 6, and the 51 of Mark Patterson.
Oh, yeah. Got into Brandon 6 in the 66.
Yeah, trying to force something that's not really there.
I think what it was
slower motion.
I think what it was, I think he was trying to come off the corner. I think he was expecting Brandon to be in behind the 51 off the corner, so he was trying to keep him up near the wall, and then I guess he wasn't expecting Brandon to be down a lane.
Yeah, that's my takeaway also, is I think 66 doesn't come up the racetrack all the way here on corner X. To see the 66, he's going to follow this line. 51 drops or moves to the right, and the 66 doesn't do that. And then 37, they get hooked together there a little bit, and then it's just game on from there. But I don't think that's what – who was that riding in behind? It was Dwayne Culberson, I think, got a really good look at all this from behind. Let us take a look. Well, everybody's shifting and shuffling now that they're in pit lane here. So they're getting really difficult to grab onto. I might have to wait on this. Wow.
It is always
Is your ATVO lagging as bad as mine is, Finian?
No, not at the moment.
I am having with 44 cars jumping around on the screen, it got really slow for me. All right, let's go back and here's Dwayne Culberson's on board. By the way, this night is a really good example of iRacing's inefficiencies graphically. This is a tough series to run with 44 cars on a brand new track with a brand new car with a new damage model. Bad day for 3080 Ti and Ryzen 7 apparently.
Yeah, apparently, even though some people still can't even get their hands on an affordable version of either of those pieces of hardware. And don't even get me started talking about the 40 series.
I was like, speaking of hands, Eric Weiland has his hands on the pit road shenanigans that went down. Eric, what you got?
Not much shenaniganry other than one driver chose to stay out, Jonathan Cogswell in the 26 car. A couple guys look like they missed their stalls. That would be Matthew Bell, Alex Weaver, and Shane Abbey. And one came down and stopped in their stall for 2 tires, and I think they're taking another 2 tires here. I believe that was Tom Bourne in the 16. So effectively second on back through the rest of the field, 4 tires and fuel. That's interesting. I'm surprised the 9's rear tires were still spinning in the air there. 4 tires and fuel for everybody. This does not put them in any sort of window, guys. We expected the fuel window to be around 60 to 70 laps, so it was supposed to be a fairly straightforward one-stopper if you made sure you got to the end of the fuel load. So this definitely cements a one-stopper, but they don't really open up any sort of fuel windows here, other than just less fuel when they do need to make a pit stop.
Jonathan Cogswell is going to start as the leader, did not pit. Got the lights out on the pace car. I think I like this call, personally, because I think it can be expected that we get a caution before we have to green flag stop, or we're going to get cautions as people green flag stop. So I like the idea of staying out, getting some track position, and being ahead of it. The only problem in this opinion for Cogswell is that he can't avoid any wrecks if he's out front. So I think that's like dividing by 0.
Yeah, no, and also the fact, too, if they do end up going the distance, he's going to have to pit by himself, so he's going to be very off sequence. So I think he's going to have to kind of hope and pray that we're going to get another caution within 20, 30 laps, because that's going to be close to when he is going to need to pit.
Well, like Larry Mack said, cautions breed cautions.
See how it goes. Lap 27, back underway from Atlanta. Green flag back in the air. Cogswell fires off. Stack up in the background, by the way. One car pops out of line. I think we'll make it past the start-finish line this time. And Cogswell almost clear, but the 23 is a good run and a good push from Brad Slaughter Jr. in behind on the bottom. And look at the run they're building here, Finney, and they just learned something for later.
Yeah, absolutely. And the car we saw in the lane was Alan Bellacino. He had to make a 3-way because there's another checkup on that inside lane. Been having troubles getting going there. I think guys just been anticipating it a little bit too much, but the inside lane up near the front going very good. Cogswell dropping like a rock.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know if older tires were going to make a difference or not. It's looking like it's making a huge difference, or it's just the rest of the guys not opting to go with the driver who stayed out on older tires. We got Val for the lead up here. Slaughter and Bowie going at it, and Ricky Springer also throwing his hat in the mix.
Getting dicey as they come off turn 2. That 26 being slow is not something I was expecting. I didn't think that was going to at all affect his pace, but it seems to have done that. Going to have to go up the racetrack. He seems like he's fighting a little bit of handling issues now too here, Vinny.
Yeah, and I was riding on board with him. You can distinctly hear him get off the throttle for just about half a second, entering the corners to make sure he can make the corner in general. And that's one of those weird things, right? Because you think, oh, tires at a super speedway, you don't really need tires at a super speedway. Yeah, you want to change them occasionally, but they're not really going to affect your grip in the corner. Well, again, that's the thing, is that Atlanta is not a true super speedway. It still is a mile and a half. These corners are tight, and they're going to wear the tires out.
Well, he shuffled back in line now, but it's pretty far back, and he's still shuffling. He's still pretty wide. Well, and it looks like staying out instead of taking new tires, not going to play off.
So I withdraw my comment about liking that strategy. That was a mistake, clearly.
Good thing off the crew chief.
Well, I just forgot that this is we're pack racing at a track that is not actually a super speedway, and so it's going to have all the tendencies of just an intermediate track, just with pack racing on it. The track didn't change that much. It's not like it is Daytona. You still have the same corner radii, and you're still got the same banking, so it's really going to still end up being the same in terms of the tire wear. That was a big lesson learned for later. Look at Ricky Springer just taking Brad Slaughter to school down there at turn 1 as go right back by the 88.
Yeah, Springer really wants this lead. Rafe Slate giving him a bit of a shove in behind. Up near the top, though, the 23, Brandon Bowie, he's been lighting the charts ablaze here. He's trying to get himself back to the front, but Brad Slaughter still in front of him.
And it looks like Eric has joined us back in the booth, as always. Is it warmer in the booth, or is it colder down pit road?
Well, I'll tell you that in sim here, it's a wonderful 90 degrees at Atlanta. So this track is nice and warm for these guys. But the restart under investigation, guys. Race control not happy with a lot of the field. It's not the leaders, believe it or not. Race control is not happy with a lot of the field and how much gap they're leaving to the cars in front of them. And that caused not only the wreck on the start, but some contact right there on this most recent restart. So expect a warning from race control to go out to all the drivers to clean it up, specifically the mid-pack. And yeah, just an interesting note, the restart was under investigation for some problems being created.
Good. All the students of the principal's office, I guess, after that one.
Pretty much. They wanted the whole field.
Well, they're going to have to conversate with a lot of people. Again, it's interesting that it wasn't the leaders, but I'm not really sure I understand the point of getting a good launch on the restarts here, Finian, because you all end up falling into line by the exit of 2 anyway. I don't think this is like a road course or maybe a short track where you can get underneath someone and go somewhere. It really requires effort, energy, and a little bit of planning to get around. I don't know if getting a jump is going to do you a lot of good other than get you in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of interesting because, like you said, exactly, at the Super Speedways, it really doesn't matter how good of a start you get as long as it's a semi-decent one. Whether you jump early or not, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. As Rick Springer was trying to clear himself in front of Race Slate, and he actually finally was able to do it as their lines forming up near the top. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised that some guys have been trying to gain this start, and that's what we've already seen almost now 2 incidents caused by guys jumping the start.
Slaughter, Bowie, Curran, and Stafford. Well, they did have a breakaway at one point, closed back in now by Ricky Springer, but the first 5 cars or so single file on the outside line. Don't know if any of them are going to jump down and try to throw their hat in the mix for the lead, but starting to see some separation just a little bit, not too much, as now there goes Stafford looking to the inside, maybe 3 wide towards the back. Nope, going to think better of it.
I have never seen the single line on the outside strategy work unless everybody wanted to do that. But Brad Slaughter has coaxed the top 5 or 6 drivers into doing that, but you see now the 71 drop to the inside and make really good ground. There was a point in NASCAR history, I think Dale Jr. was a big proponent of this, where you just drive up against the fence and you'd run single file up there and no one could make any passes. Here in the sim, it almost looked like it was working, but now the 71 proving us wrong, and he's making up a ton of ground and is going to be battling the 88 here shortly.
Yeah, I think, again, because this is still that mile and a half, although I think the top lane is one of the places to be. Like I mentioned earlier, Bronson Stafford, he's moved all the way from 28th to 22nd. That was purely by just staying up in that top lane, getting great runs out of the corner. But for the lead, though, I was starting to think that as well, similar to you, is that top lane is definitely the place to be. Although the bottom's starting to come back. Here comes Newbing with the run on the bottom.
Now, I'll say, I don't know how you can keep leaving the bottom open with the 71 slowly creeping towards the front, and now he's got some help from Cosman Yoneshiwu and Ed Robertson there on the bottom, trying to get him the lead going into turn 1. Slaughter going to keep the momentum push from Bowie and Kern, but Newbiging throwing his hat up there, and now edging out Slaughter, coming out too.
Seeing a lot of really big pushes down the back straightaway. That makes me a little bit nervous, actually, because of the strength. You see the 23 of Bowie give a big shot to Brad Slaughter. That's all fine and dandy when you hit him nice and square in the middle of the straightaway or towards the end of the straightaway. But if you mistime that just by a quarter of a second, Finian, you can knock him sideways going off into the turn, and then it's going to be a big mess. Eric Wineland, what you got?
Hey guys, just an update for you. I don't know that you guys have documented on this yet. We're 15 laps from these guys put these tires on. Not even, I'd say probably 10 to 12 laps since the restart. Jonathan Cogswell, E41. He has gone backward, and he is struggling right now on these old tires. He's barely hanging into the line. He's pretty much in a second, I'd call it the third pack, which is mostly single file cars here toward the back. Not a good look, and he's dead silent on the radio. No report from the 26 team. The rest of his team, Lucky Duck, are very chatty and lighthearted right now, but 26 nothing.
Yeah, that decision is going to come back and haunt him, especially if he can't get that track position back. He was running up in the top 10 before that decision, Finian, but now all the way at the back, and he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and again, like we mentioned earlier, we were kind of, again, he needs to make sure also that there's a caution but he doesn't need to make sure he's got to hope that there's a caution in the next coming up. So otherwise, he's going to have to come down and pit by himself. It's going to make a bad day even worse for the 26. And then again, that was just him trying to make a strategy call. And everyone else, I'm sure, definitely learned by that. You cannot stay out there on older tires, very, very older tires, because you're just going to have a miserable day and drop down the order quickly.
Well, now we're officially 100 laps away from the finish, possibly. If this thing does not have a runway checker, then it's 100 laps from the finish. Slaughter still holding on to the lead. Newbigging still keeping his name down there on the bottom, right aboard the 61 of Bronson Stafford as he looks to keep the 88 of Slaughter on the outside leading, as there's a big run there. Just got to see how much these guys are checking up with these runs.
Well, one thing I'm noticing off of the distance that we're going to have to deal with shortly is lap traffic. Now, I didn't really think that this was going to be a huge issue tonight, and I still don't think it'll be huge, but Jeff Ryan, 2 laps down. He might just roll over and let everybody by, but if we catch lap traffic naturally, Finian, it is going to be a catalyst for a real big reaction, and that could be the end of a lot of people's days as Bowie makes a hard left and goes down to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 1.
Yeah, the top lane has got a fantastic run out of the corner, and especially the 23. Although look at here, coming through 1 and 2, Brad Slaughter able to take him to school around the outside and get a fantastic run. Here comes Curran with another good run. So the 23 is not even going to be able to reclaim his spot. He's going to have to, I think, be pretty much stuck on the bottom now.
He's going to have to lead the bottom towards the front, and he's got a run down on the bottom. Here comes the 23 of Bowie, going to try and side draft the 88. Although, what's this going to mean when the lap traffic gets up to them, or when they get up to the lap traffic? It's going to be interesting. 3 wide, especially in the middle of these corners, that outside lane, wherever the lap car goes, either way, the outside lane, the third lane is going to be the one flirting with disaster.
See big shoves again into turn 3, and everyone right now is behaving, but the closer and closer we get to the end of that race, more and more we're going to push, and the more we're going to try in corners. And Bronson Stafford is doing something really making me nervous. He's pulling out of line to get clean air on the nose, but he's getting so close to the quarter panel of the 24 ahead of him. If the 24 checks up even a little bit, Finian, that could really trigger a big chain reaction. So right now it's fine, but any other outside influence, it could cause this stack up. Bronson Stafford is going to be right in the middle of it.
Yeah, actually, I was just ignored the 71 because the 71 was starting to come off the corner as well, and he was still a little bit low looking at the inside of that 24. So he is definitely going to have to be careful, especially if the tires start to wear out, because these guys are going to be moving more over the track, all over the track, and a little bit less predictable because they're not going to be able to keep that car anchored towards the bottom lane as they approach the lap car of Jeff Ryan in the corner. Ryan into the wall. Looks like otherwise he's going to stay out of it. He works his way on through the field.
You know, like I said, whoever is going to be on that outside lane, that third lane, is going to be Pitbull. Looks like they've gotten themselves out of it, as Ed Robertson was way low below the apron. Might have had a slide coming out of turn 2 and just kept the car straight.
I'm not exactly sure what happened here. Let's go back and see if we can pinpoint if he bailed on this intentionally or if he got loose and had a moment.
Yeah, definitely going to want to watch him here as he comes through the corner. He's going to be riding that white and right line to the inside. And then right here, he's going to clip it just a little bit, and the car is going to slowly, lazily spin to the inside, and he's going to be able to save it.
Well, good job from the 64 of Robertson, keeping that car straight. Back up towards the front. 3-car breakaway on the outside. Stafford now leading the way on the bottom, trying to take the third spot away from Curran in the 24. And Slaughter continuing to lead here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with what Slaughter is doing. He's not leading consistently all the time, but he is managing to drag everybody back into that upper groove battle as the 23 slides up ahead of him. And look at what they're starting to learn. They're starting to learn to lead that outside lane, a big block out of turn 2. That was a wild one. Was he loose or trying to throw the block there, Finian?
Oh, he was very loose. Very, very loose off of turn 2, wrecking loose. So he managed to make that look a lot cooler than it needed to be. He was basically drifting towards the wall, and somehow Brad Slaughter did end up turning him around here. So here we got a big run from the 24. I thought he was going to do something with it, but Slaughter now on the bottom.
Wow. Well, that could have been really bad coming out of turn 2, but Slaughter now with pressure from Bowie. Ooh, and really close to the wall. Looked like that was Curran in the 24.
About as close to it as you can get without hitting it. Off into turn 3. This is getting really intense up front as we continue to tick away laps. The pace of this race is going by really quickly, Finian, as we get less cautions than I think we were anticipating. You know, yes, it's challenging, but it seems to be raceable. We're not having wreck after wreck after wreck, like maybe we were anticipating after that lap 0 collision coming to the green. So as the laps click away, the 88 grabs the apron there and gets a little loose. The intensity level will continue to rise as people sense that they're not going to get as many restart opportunities as perhaps they thought at the start.
No, and I'm interested in seeing this too because we're starting to see some guys getting loose and having some handling issues. Guys are only just over 20, 25 laps into this run on these tires, and these guys are already starting to have some handling issues. Oh, as you see, 3 wide for the lead, Stafford to the bottom.
Stafford to the lead, Slaughter in the middle. Don't know how this is going to work, but Bowie now on the 3rd lane, and now he's going to get shuffled back. Slaughter going to regroup into 2nd, but Brandon Bowie in a tough spot. Slaughter looking to the inside, Stafford for the lead as they're still 3 wide behind.
Big dive for Brad Slaughter Jr. battling Bronson Stafford for the lead here. Lap number 51, still 3 abreast behind them for about 5th spot.
Oh,
it is wild here in
Atlanta. 21 spinning on the front straightaway into the pits and into the pit wall. We remain green because he spun out of bounds, but he was complaining of lack of brakes, so that was his issue.
Oh, he was already loose entering turn 3.
And then
he's drifting.
Yeah, if I heard that correctly on the radio, he's warning everyone else that he didn't have any brakes or something along those lines.
I think Bronson Stafford slow out of turn 4, drops in the middle of the pack, and it's on fire again for the lead. Everybody's scattering.
Huh.
And because we missed that, let's go back and look. Ooh, behind the 88 just runs up, and the 18 as Springer was also in the fence. He dropped down to 10th, but not as far back as the 61. And JT Poole, where did he come from? He started all the way, I thought he started at the back. No, he only a P11, but here he is up the mix. We haven't talked about him yet tonight in that blue Summit number 32 car. And trying to get up alongside the 88. He hasn't led a lap yet, but he's trying.
Yeah, doing a really solid job getting that car up there, coming, as you mentioned, pretty much out of nowhere. He started at 11th, so he's been up near the front for most of the day. He hasn't just put his car near the front of the field. Now he's finally starting to make his name known here, trying to battle it out with the 88 of Brad Slaughter. I'm really curious to see it because they're actually starting to see the pack jumble back up together again as these guys are starting to experience some handling issues. That could lead us closer and closer to a wreck here.
Well, Brandon Bowie it looked like he was going to get shuffled into no man's land, and now he's back running inside the top 5. And speaking of back inside, Eric Weiland back inside the booth. What you got?
Well, I'm not inside the booth. I'm still reporting for Pit Lane, Hunter. But I do have one more thing for you guys here. So you saw the wild craziness that just happened there on lap 52 through turns 3 and 4. I just happened to be in Physicus Motorsports channel when that was kicking off. Here's Ricky Springer, Rafe Slate, commenting on what just happened.
There's another car in front of the wall. Rafe, I'm going to need space.
Oh my god.
I have another car on my inside.
So those guys definitely saw what happened there with the 61 of Bronson Stafford getting in the wall there in turns 3 and 4, and it caused a little chaos. Meanwhile, Sky Motorsports don't have the audio for you guys, but quite a few of them starting to complain. Tight entry, loose middle, and then it'll stay tight through exit, but then it'll snap loose on exit. So it's a weird handling race car for a lot of these guys, especially if they've been full throttle for the entire run. They've burned a lot of that good off that Goodyear and not behaving the way they wanted to. Expect the top line here, guys, to be dominant in the shortcoming time. In which case, don't need to turn the wheels much. Should have a slightly better handling race car.
How the cars transition throughout the run, I think it's going to give us sort of a caution clock of sorts throughout the event. But we haven't really seen that, right? Our earlier incident was caused way at the back of the pack by cars. Not in that back as we watched the 2 of Greg Mitchell get very close to the outside of the Rafe Slate car, I think, was the car that he almost touched. But Finian, it's going to get dicier and dicier the longer we run.
Yeah, and that was actually exactly what happened. You just got tight on the entry, exactly what Eric was saying, tight on the entry. And then that's a dangerous combination these guys are facing is, tight on entry, loose in the middle, and the car just kind of snapping into you mid-corner. That can be very dangerous, especially in a pack situation. So we're going to see how these guys are going to handle that, if they're going to be able to handle it in general, if they're maybe going to see some more guys potentially drift to the back of this pack just to make sure they're okay and they don't get themselves caught up in a wreck.
I'll say the way that Eric described it is like a toxic ex-girlfriend. They're like, she loves you, then she hates you, but then again she comes back and then she leaves again. Like, it's just a handful. Speaking of handful, Brad Slaughter's got a handful of that steering wheel, trying to get it up towards the lead. Big run off the corner, down on the inside. Once again, him and Brandon Bowie, and then Michael Curran trying to give a run on the outside. Going to be close to the wall. Right behind him, though, Ryan Hartz. We haven't talked about him all day, and he's a front runner every time we're here.
Yeah, he's right in the mix now. And I'm seeing more and more drivers struggle with the understeer, getting into the fence or near to it.
And through it, hello.
And here's the, ooh, that was dicey again. Here's the question, Finian. What happens when you need to pit now? Because we could conceivably get to the green flag sequence of pit stops, but I mean, I don't want to come to pit lane because as soon as everyone starts, there's going to be a caution. So how do you reconcile chicken before the egg there?
You just kind of have to hold it out there. I think really the best thing to do, like at normal super speedway, is just kind of waiting, running the tank out, waiting to come into pit lane at the last possible time so you don't get yourself caught off sequence, caught off guard, especially with everyone running so close together. These guys are more in a pack here than I've seen them at Daytona. I feel like at Daytona I've seen these guys more spread out, and that's the big thing too, is pitting. Most of the time, the pit lane on the super speedways, you come to a straightaway and you can have a little bit of time to pull out and slow down. Here, these guys are going to be pitting off of a corner, so that's going to be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, we've already seen that a couple of times. Whenever cars are as low as they are on the apron, they clip in, then they get sideways and spin. One driver, well, he is a driver. He's going to race tomorrow night. Eric Wineland had a good view of that earlier. What you got?
Well, I got something else wild for you guys. I don't know if Kyle can cue up a replay from lap 51 for car 21, but
we caught that.
Okay,
we got
Delonte Ballard. I got the full story from Solar Flare Racing here. So lap 50, he literally one lap prior to what happened, he drove through Dwayne Culberson, his teammate, and he didn't know what the heck was going on. Turns out throttle stuck on the 21, no brakes, no pedal input other than 100% throttle where it kind of left off at. It kind of got disconnected, he said, and he doesn't know if it was a USB hub or what, but it never gave him any sort of input change. He was stuck at full throttle, and he drove through a teammate the lap before and then just looped it trying to get onto pit road to get it stopped because that throttle was hung and he had nothing he could do until he got reset. So wild moment there for car 21, but that is why he's 5 laps down and he has some damage on the front. He pretty much had a hardware malfunction, pretty equivalent to a mechanical failure with the throttle being hung.
Okay, so when he said he had no brakes, he actually had no brakes. I thought he was just being...
That was, yes, absolutely.
Oh, the 88 sideways out of turn 2. Sorry, Eric. Big moment for the number 88. He bails out of line. Loose car out of turn 2. He gathers it up, but he's 3 wide now for 5th place.
Yeah, that was interesting, and that wasn't even, he didn't get any help in that situation. That was purely by himself just getting loose off of turn 2. So again, you can only imagine you have a field full of these guys potentially getting loose, and now they're 3 wide. Oh boy.
It feels like I'm watching an ARCA race at Daytona. There are 2 rows of 3 wide, something we have not seen all day long, and I wonder how this is going to play out. Well, it looked like it played out pretty good there. Well, they're still kind of 3 wide.
I just don't think we can do this for very many laps, guys. I mean, I know we're getting pretty deep in the run here at lap number 40 on this run, but as we get deeper and deeper, these 3 wide scenarios, these understeer scenarios, they keep happening over and over. I just don't think that we can do this forever. Finian, it's a ticking time bomb. Who's going to light the fuse?
Yeah, I really don't know. I think someone in this main pack is going to, though. We see more and more guys get loose occasionally here and there. We had a lot of lucky moments where guys have just been able to spread out and avoid the incident, but what happens when someone gets loose, they don't save it and turn back into the field. That's when calamity is going to happen.
Speaking of lucky, right behind Rafe Slate is Gabriel Ellison from Lucky Duck Motorsports. Riding around the 10th spot right now. Haven't talked about him too much other than qualifying, but still running pretty solid. Actually up quite a handful. I'd say 2 handfuls of positions now. 10 spots. Started 21st. Up to 11th. Now trying to get that 10th spot away from Cosmin Yoneshibu.
Down into turn 1. At times, the pack kind of fractures and then reassembles. And when it reassembles, it gets really tight, as you see in the back of the pack right now. The whole rear of this field, Finian, is so packed tight. Look at this. From, I don't know, 15th on back, it is just super sketchy. And again, when the front does that, it starts to get really wild as everyone vies for that lead position. As Hartz has it, Poole drops into 2nd.
Yeah, and Eric, we have Eric Wineland back with us. Eric, you got a word?
Radio from David Weishart Racing.
Hey, it's loose off too, guys. One car gets loose and everybody's like, no, we got a 3 wide.
Who's that on the outside?
Yeah, Brad Slaughter, a little caught out by what just happened right there. And David and the rest of the group at David Weishart Racing were not happy with how the field was trying to sort themselves back out. Luckily, they've gotten themselves back to 2 wide, but ill-handling race cars is the talk across all radios, not just David Weishart Racing.
So tricky handling challenges. Eric, before you jump away, we're about 42, 43 laps into this run. When can we expect people to need to come down to pit lane? Because I don't think anyone's going to want to get out of this mess and risk going a lap down.
Well, Kyle, you're asking at the perfect time because here, right as we hit halfway, fuel window is going to open up for the remainder of the race. They can get to the end on fuel, but obviously we're seeing they want tires. So with going green, 45 laps to go, 71 to go as they cross the start-finish line, that pegs us at about 105 lap run 115 lap run. Got to carry a 1 there to the end of the race. So expect them to split that probably close to half. If guys want better tires late in the run, you might see them try to drive it a little bit later, but handling race cars, I would not want to go much past the halfway point of the run before I come and get tires. So if we go halfway point of the run, we're probably looking here in about, I'd say, 20 to 30 laps.
A little ways to go until we get there, but halfway through, and this race is flying by, Finian. It's flying at the speed of 170 plus miles an hour as the field 2 by 2 and about 38 cars deep sails down the back straightaway. How much longer? Every lap we say we can't do it, but they keep doing it.
At some point, something's going to have to give. These guys, there's way too many cars and way too small a space for this to continue much longer, especially with the pit stops just knocking on the door. Also, one thing I want to point out, too, is look at this lap, the lap time difference for these guys. From their best lap to their current laps, everyone's running about 1.4, 1.5 seconds slower than their best lap. And again, that's really just due to the tires wearing on, these guys having to lift off the gas to make sure they can make the corner. So that's how much the tires are worth. And again, that's just another weird thing. We don't really consider that at super speedways. I'm sure a lot of these guys haven't been considering that, and that's kind of have to go into the game plan. You might be worth pitting just to get yourself fresh tires to go faster.
Well, when they do pit, it's going to be interesting seeing how that gets done, not only with the transition from the racetrack through the banking and slowing down to 55 miles an hour or so, but with as tight of a pack as we've seen, I don't know if there's really going to be any margin for error, because if you slow down and the guy behind you doesn't get the memo, then you're going to run over and we got a big wreck.
That's why I mentioned chicken before the egg thing a little while ago. As soon as people need to come to pit lane, the caution's going to come out. But the caution's not going to come out until they need to come to pit lane. So it's going to be one of those things where as soon as somebody does it, it's going to cause an accident, so you don't want to be the first guy to go. And everyone knows that, but you have to come down at some point.
Sorry to cut you off. There's an accident brewing on the horizon, and his name is potentially Jonathan Cogswell, because remember, we had Cogswell, he stayed out. He's actually not, he has actually just come to pit lane. That's why he's far off sequence, so he's just trying to get back there up to speed. I'm actually curious to see. I don't think he can necessarily break away from everyone else with the fresher tires, but you might be close.
Curious to see
Nope.
In the chicken and the egg thing, where the incubator comes in.
Well, Cogswell's last lap was a 32.1, and the field
That's
is doing
terrible.
a 31.8, so they're still catching him at about 0.3 a lap. So, it's not a huge difference, but if he starts to get in the middle of all this, none of the lead lap cars are going to give him any grace here. And as soon as he gets back in the traffic, he'll be the best handling car, Finian, so that's going to be something they'll have to sort out when they start to put him a lap down.
Yeah,
66 is in the wall.
6 is in the wall, and looks like he's able to get it off it safely without causing any incident. But again, starting to see more and more guys make mistakes here and there, and you see the pack looming in the distance in the back of Jonathan Cogswell as they track him down.
I was going to say, I don't know if Cogswell's going to be able to pull away, considering there's a pack of about 30 cars or so behind him. You would assume that it would be faster, the pack behind. So it looks like they're closing in on him.
Yeah, a couple tenths a second a lap, and right now, they're catching him because of the combined speed they have in the draft. If everyone was single filed out, there probably wouldn't be a huge pace difference, but I think the advantage would go to the car with the fresher tires. But because he's got fresh tires, as soon as he falls into this pack, he's going to stop falling.
Actually, last lap by, he was only a few hundredths of a second off, so they're catching him fairly slowly now that he's finally gotten up to speed after another 2-3 laps, building up momentum.
Well, in the middle of all that, Brandon Bowie is still holding on to a pretty comfortable lead as Slaughter and Hart still door-to-door for the second spot. Slaughter now clear of the 3. He can drop down whenever he wants if he's got a big enough run to do so. But for the most, they're 3 wide towards the back, and it looked like Slaughter just made a move to the lead. He is in the lead.
Out of turn 2, Slaughter, I think, has been the raciest and has been, I don't know if he's been out front the most of anybody, but it seems like it. He's the one most willing to make the moves and consistently gets himself back up into the lead. Right here, though, you see him push up the racetrack. He just can't hold that bottom lane, Finian, and he's controlling it well, but late in the race, you're not going to lift.
Yeah, definitely not. Now, Eric is back with us in the booth. Eric, what do you got for us?
Little racing radio for car 28 here, guys.
It's like I'm dropping down to 158 while we're going 180 into the corners. It's like, God.
Travis Beckner not happy with the way these guys are driving around him, but that is just the...
Oh, DeLeo's going to turn the 28. Around he goes into turn 3, and they somehow save it for now.
Oh, look out. Well,
that was
could have been bad.
Wild. I don't know how they came out the other side of that without a big mess, but here's a look at it. The 22 right there just gets into the quarter panel, and man, that should have been a huge crash, and it was not.
I don't think that's going to make Travis Beckner any better.
No, he's not going to be in any better mood after that.
Guys, I'm afraid to go back down to the channel and record because I'm not sure that I'd be exercising the bleep button a lot.
Maybe we'll just play the bleep button.
So Travis, how is everyone racing you? B.
Oh man. Lap 81, we continue to knock laps away, and here's a crazy thought. We have to come to pit lane one more time, but if we go green to the end, 31 minutes is all this is going to take. That's how fast this race is going. That's the speed at which we're ticking laps away, and the desperation is going to continue to rise as it has the whole time. Again, the next 20 laps are going to be very interesting and probably dictate the rest of how this race goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this here. I'm curious for the leaders seeing that lap car of Cogswell up ahead. If they're thinking, do I want to come in before we catch that guy, or do you want to come in after we catch Cogswell? Because when they catch him, it's kind of hard to tell if there's going to be absolute chaos or nothing's going to happen.
I don't want to come in till it's yellow. And
but do you want to wreck your car?
Nope. But I don't want to pit under green either, because then I'll wreck my car. That's all you got. That's the decisions you got.
Wild game of chicken for everyone in the field.
That was chicken before the egg. Didn't believe me.
Yeah.
So we're playing chicken, and then
to pit or not to pit.
We're going to break a bunch of
eggs.
That is the
question.
We're either going to have a full field of healthy chickens, or we're going to have scrambled eggs.
I'm going to vote Team Scrambled Eggs on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I had them yesterday. They're pretty good.
Do eggs float? Because buoys do. He's been out front for 27 laps.
It depends on what you put in the eggs to kind of make them fluffy. But whatever it is, it's working for Brad Slaughter, too. He's about to lead his 30. Well, if he can come through and lead his 30th lap of the race right here, I think that would be the most in the race. I'm not 100% sure.
I think so. Bowie's led a few less than that. Ricky Springer led some laps early, but I think only a handful. Yes, 14. So I think Brad Slaughter has been the one that's led the most. Work lap 85 here shortly.
And getting closer and closer. I mean, these guys, you think are going to come down at some point, right? We've done 60 laps since they've all last been in pit lane. I think that's what, maybe about 10 more laps they can probably go on the tank, just in and about. So we're knocking on the door of that, but no one showing any sign of yielding to come on pit lane. Everyone's being stubborn and staying out there as they approach Duncan Cogswell.
I'll say they're knocking on the door of the 26 of Cogswell. They're saying, hey, we're getting up on you. What do you want to do? Do you want to make this easy or make this hard?
Well, the 26 has done a lot of avoiding accidents lately. Or if they'll keep one in the mirror this time.
Oh, it's actually just looking a little bit further back. On lap 85, Jordan D. Martin almost got turned around by the 45. Chris Seidenfeld, that was going to be correct. A lot of near misses.
I do know that when we get a crash, it's going to be a big one.
Is it going to be the iRacing not top 10?
It might be.
Ooh, I think I just saw Senesac down a pit lane.
Oh. Maybe.
Senesac is on pit lane all by himself. That could be a big brain play or a real big mistake. We'll see in a couple laps.
I would say, what does he know that we don't?
Well, he was already by himself, so he had nothing to gain.
Oh, here we go, guys.
Oh, big block.
Up front, that was the 26 throwing the blocks, trying to keep the field behind him. Again, he's got better tires, so he actually should be able to keep the field behind him pretty easily, but they're going to draft right up to him and then have nowhere to go. So this is going to create a lot of volatility from second on down to 10th or 12th or so.
And Eric, as they catch the back of Jonathan Coxwell, what do you got for us?
I'm getting my mic and my feet warmed up, guys, because Jacob Bell just got the call for 5 laps left on his fuel. So expect these guys here within the next 10 laps, depending on how much they've been saving in the pack. Obviously, we heard earlier that some guys were bleeding a lot of speed to get through the corners, so they've been saving a little bit of fuel and tire. Now, with just 52 remaining as they cross the stripe, expect pit road to get busy here very soon. I'll be bringing you guys everything I can here once they finally decide to hang left and come down to me.
I would say it's 90 degrees down on pit road. Your feet should already be warm.
95 on the track surface temperature, but I'm not out on the black stuff. I'm over here on the concrete.
Ah, okay.
I can tell you, Ryan Hartz is about 195 degrees under the helmet right now with this 26 car that, again, has better tires, Eric. So that's going to throw a wrench in this whole lead battle here for a couple of laps. The 26 has better tires, but isn't going to go away from them and isn't going to get passed by these guys. So that's going to make things a little sketchy.
Sorry to cut you guys off.
Watch here. I'm getting radio scanner. 88's coming. 23's thinking about coming. 3's coming. The front half of the field's coming here.
They're all coming. They're all coming.
Watch this pit road entry right here.
And
hold your horses. Here it comes. Moment of truth.
We're all just waiting silently as they come out of turn 4. They're going to get down there pretty nicely. The 3 locks up the tires. There's no way he didn't speed there, Finian.
Yep. Oh, yep. He got a black flag.
Oh, man.
Well, he hit the cone,
entering from race control for car number 3 as they come down pit road here. Watch for these guys to slide through their boxes as well. These old tires, they aren't going to stop near as well with these brakes in these cup cars. But everybody, 4 tires and fuel. I see the right side's up. I see the left side's up now. And just enough fuel to make it 50 laps here as they cross the stripe to get to the finish. We watch Brandon Bowie here in pit stall number 1, right up there. He's going to go left and down and away goes these guys in the back part of the field. Brad Slaughter might be the first off pit road here, guys.
Well, the first group came to pit lane without any drama, and that surprised me a lot. But now, we're back up to speed here. The critical moment. Don't get yourself a black flag getting back on the racetrack. For the 3, that is going to be a catastrophic situation if he goes another lap down because of that accident. These guys jump back up on the road as now with the field spread out, this should be a little bit easier to get to pit lane without any major dramas here. A couple other cars get down to pit lane speed. Almost some contact back there. Didn't see who was involved with that, but I think now it should be sustainable, Finian, to get everyone on pit lane.
Yeah, I think so too. Douglas Newman, I was watching him come down pit lane. He was a little hot, but able to slow it down just in time. But it looks like, as you mentioned, just past the thick of the traffic, it seems like now it's going to be a little bit easier for everyone to come on down. That being said, we still have the chance for caution.
Second wave was good. Third wave was good. Ryan Hart's finally out of his box. He held for a minute 1 minute on pit lane. Minute 26 was his pit lane traversal, so that's going to have him 2 down, potentially going to go 3 down as we see trouble on the racetrack there for the 66.
Yeah, Brandon 6 could not get it slowed down. He tried and had to bail out there, Finian.
Race control, 2 more penalties here. Jeff Ryan, Andrew Player, too fast entering, and the 37 and 13. I saw smoke here at the end of pit lane, guys. They did not make it on, but the guy who did, Jake Nichols, made it on. He's going to take his 4 tires. Another wave coming down here to us.
Yeah, penalties being was close with that pit entry.
Yeah, penalties being handed out left, right, and center. And I guess it's not too surprising. I mean, this is already used to be a decently difficult pit lane to get on. And you give these guys even more speed. These guys coming 170 miles an hour off these corners. It's going to be recipe for disaster as far as trying to slow down. I'm honestly surprised we didn't have more pit lane speeding penalties.
Oh, that was really tight.
Whoa, Rafe Slate still struggling to get the car slowed down. Gives a shot to the back of the 61. The 2 of Mitchell knocks the tire or the cone out of the way, trying to get onto pit lane, and that was just a real awkward exchange all around.
What did that cone do? What beef does Greg Mitchell have with that cone? Well, there's a couple other drivers with that cone too, but saw it coming in way too hot, way too hot. He passed a car. He passed the car past the speeding line.
You know what's surprising, though, is that he did not get a penalty for that.
What? All right, well,
what race control?
Leidenfein got it as well. They're getting really good at resetting that cone. It's like an autocross out there.
Seinfeld tried to do what Greg Mitchell did. He heard there was no penalty, so he just tried to replicate that.
Autocross, they add some time to your score if you hit the cones. They should start doing that here.
And hey guys, I know that we don't see a black flag in the sim for Greg Mitchell, but he's still on pit lane here. Has not pulled away. They've already completed service. 4 tires of fuel already done. He's been sitting here 45 seconds stationary, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he's serving a penalty as well. Meanwhile, everybody else, 4 tires of fuel as best as I can see. I did not see the jacks go up on 32 as the 2 pulls away in front of me here. I did not see the jacks go up on the 32, but I'm pretty sure he did take 4 tires and fuel. So rounding out the last bit of pit stops here, Chris Seidenfaden and Garrett Grant down pit road right here. And Chris also taking out the cone, also receiving a penalty. He's still sitting here in his pit stall as well as Garrett rolls by.
All right, well,
Dominic DeLeo, sorry, I wanted to mention Dominic DeLeo, who came in and stayed out in 73 laps.
Wow.
Hypermiling.
Well, that's going to do it for the pit stops, probably for the rest of the race, unless we get a caution, and that is likely, but I don't know. We didn't see one for an entire run at times when I thought it would have been really sketchy. So my prediction, Finian, is that we're going to get pretty far along in this race before we see a yellow, and it's going to come with maybe 15, 20 laps to go, and then all hell breaks loose from there, or we go green to the end, one of those two things, but the field extremely spread out now, as you can see down from the blimp cam here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's genuinely amazing how much the field has spread out. It's gone from a traditional pack race to a traditional Atlanta race where you have kind of guys scattered across the back. That being said, now everyone's kind of starting to form their own packs across the board and trying to now see if they can all catch back up to the leaders. But Brad Slaughter, Brandon Bowie have a big lead over to Michael Curran and over the rest of the field.
Pit lane exit violation or speeding on exit. I'm not quite sure which for car 22. Dom DeLeo, he's back here in front of me, guys.
Oh. Dom DeLeo down in 37th spot. Going to ruin his day with the really total lack of pit stops in general, the number of pit stops. You don't have time to recoup that. Bowie's in the fence in turn 3, big time. Hits it once, hits it twice as Andrew Player dives to the inside. It was a big moment there. These are lap cars that are now separating the 88 and 23. But Bowie will come off the wall and live to see another day as this battle for third is heating up behind him.
Yeah, that's kind of the crazy thing is that now these guys are all catching back up to the leaders. I'm sure they saw that and they're like, oh, we have a chance to catch back up. So New England leading Yonoshiwu, Poole, and Smith in this little pack. And there's also a lot of lap cars spread out as well in this big car. There's actually everyone down from 30th is a lap down.
Very intriguing at how these pit stops have played out, and I was actually curious to see if the second pack would catch up with the 2 leaders of Slaughter and Bowie, and they have done just that. It's about 1.3 seconds in closing between first, second, and then that pack led by Curran in third.
See the gaps there on the back straightaway, but it's going to take a few more laps before this really starts to click back together. Everyone probably loves how their cars are driving right now, though. Not a lot of cars around them. I see a lot of purple flashing on the timing screen. Drivers that are about to run their best laps of the race. But there's only a car or two in front of you. You can maximize that draft. There's no one in your way. The track's cooling down. The sun is setting. Everyone feels really good. They just want more track position here as they get closer to the end of this thing.
Yeah, and also we didn't really say anything, but hats off to the entire field. We had all 43 guys still running out there on the track. Everyone came down to pit lane, and we somehow didn't get a caution on probably the track I would have bet between this Daytona and Talladega coming to pit lane, green flag pit stop, would have bet that there definitely would have been a caution. So congrats to everyone involved for somehow getting through there in one piece.
Less than 40 to go now, and it's a single file train, and well, no, it is still single file. Conga line formed by Brad Slaughter on board Brandon Bowie. That's the lap car. I believe that's Kyle Sieg in the middle of that.
The Sieg is one of the cars in one of the packs, but that is the... Oh, yes, it is Kyle Sieg in the 39, and then it's the 13 of Player behind.
Almost got into the side of the 23 when it's coming down.
Here comes the 24 of Michael Curran, who is third on the board, and bringing Newbigging, Yonoshiwu, and JT Poole back in the mix for the top running here. Brad Slaughter Jr., though, if you had to pick one driver that's been in the mix the most, it's that 88 car, but here comes the 23 back to the bottom.
Yeah, a lot of lap cars involved in this mix as well as the 23 goes down low to defend and the 88 of Brad Slaughter up on top. This is a very familiar sight. This is how these guys have been most of this race.
Yep, it's been 88, 23, and then 24, 71, 84. Really have all been there. Here we go, 3 wide. Curran taking the run on the outside. Bowie on the inside. Slaughter down the middle. In the sucker hole, it appears to be. But he gets a run through the middle and is going to reclaim that spot for the time being. Curran still on the outside.
Wow.
It's getting dicey up here for the lead.
That was wild. He had a run and decided not to stomp it. He went right to the outside lane, and Newbeginn's in the fence behind him. Bounces off it once and hangs on to a great move there by Curran, and it's going to get him the lead. Slaughter fought it back for a bit there, Finian, but he can't delay the inevitable. And the 24 power move to the top.
Wow, he's making some moves, very dangerous moves, one might argue, but making very solid moves. Got past Slaughter, got past Bowie. He's going to secure that lead up on the top. This 23, though, is going to get a big run. Only uses just a bump, didn't move to the bottom.
Whoa.
Slaughter with a look to the bottom. Here comes Newbing now on the bottom.
Newbing and JT Poole with the momentum push down on the bottom. And there's Aaron Smith. Haven't talked about him all race. Right, he was trying to stay awake. Now I'm pretty sure he's wide awake. He's inside the top 10.
He had a good run last week after not a great start at the Gateway event. Back up in the mix right now inside the top 5. Everyone's getting a little brave out here, though, I'd say, Finian. We ran 2 and 3 wide at a big pack for 70 laps. Now that we're a little bit shallower in terms of the depth of the pack right now, everyone's getting very racy because they know it's not going to hurt them that bad, and that could be disastrous if they plan it just a little bit wrong. Bowie back to the lead, Slaughter back to second, and slots in ahead of the 24 of Curran.
Yeah, he's getting really well up in the front. And I'm kind of curious now what's going to be the game plan for these guys, right? Because we know that the tires are going to wear out pretty hard by the time they get to the end of this run. So do you kind of sit around, save your stuff, don't push your tires too hard, save them for later on, or you want to push down and try to get some position?
If you're the 9 of Matthew Bell, I would push now. You know how far back he was, 36, and he's inside the top 5. But one driver, he's in the wall now, so never mind, scratch that. Ricky Springer now moves inside the top 5. Big run on the bottom with Curran in the 24. Actually, no, sorry, that is not Curran. That's Kyle Sieg on the bottom, pushing Springer towards the front. Slaughter's in the lead, Bowie on the outside, but here comes the 18 of Springer.
Double wide, and now we're back to the pack formation here, at least up in the top dozen or so, maybe the top 15 in the mix. That 39 car that's up there in the mix, Kyle Sieg is the first driver 1 lap down. He would love a yellow flag and get that opportunity to get back on the lead lap and fight for position. 30 laps to go, though, and the countdown starts now, in my mind, Finian. But Eric Wineland, welcome back. What you got for us?
Hey, guys, Lucky Duck Motorsports Radio, they said they were going to be the content producers tonight, and they are definitely doing so.
They're going 3!
Good.
Good. I couldn't get.
That's what I like to hear.
That was before Gabriel and Seth worked themselves back into this lead pack. Now Aaron Smith and Seth Noel, Gabriel Ellison, and that group that was 5 seconds back have caught the pack. And now the rest of the packs behind are pretty much getting there as well. The only guys really straggling off the field right now, the 77 of Jacob Bell, the 41 of Tyler Nichols, and then the Sky Motorsports guys, and then anyone else that may have received this penalty as well.
Whoa, Newbing loose off of turn 2, almost spins out. He's going to save it.
Oh, everybody scatters on the backstretch. So the 1 to the bottom of the racetrack going to try to squeeze under the 39. And Hunter, this is getting absolutely wild. We expected this, but the time bomb is ticking once again here as the pack gets reformed after about 10 laps after the end of the pit sequence there.
Wonder who's going to set it off. Maybe right here, Springer
and
Kyle
39.
Sieg pulling down
Woo,
low.
boy, that ain't going to work.
Oh, no! They're shuffling a lot from that move from Sieg.
They somehow don't wreck still. How on earth?
Kyle Sieg pulled down to get out of harm's way and was almost a cause of the big one. And that really separated the pack here. So he went down low to just avoid the mayhem and almost caused the mayhem. And look, they're shuffling around in the back trying to avoid wrecking, and they did. So I don't know how they're getting away with this.
Not forever, that's for sure. But
now we got another conga line for him.
At some point, after all this, we just talk about how lucky. How good are they, Finian? I mean, you mentioned it earlier. This is a good night. There are bad nights and there are good nights, and this is certainly a very positive night in terms of everyone putting in the effort to keep the racing clean and green, and it has been just that.
Yeah, I'm still genuinely amazed. We had we still have all 43 guys going. I'm trying to remember the last time we had a soccer race where we had plus 40 cars and had plus 40 cars finish the race. So
my computer
still
hates
on track for that.
I was excited at the beginning. I was like, yeah, we're gonna get some cars out early, and I'll get 50 FPS again instead of 10. But these new cars at this new track, it is certainly a workout, Hunter, for the PCs.
Absolutely, and it looks like that bottom is starting to get more into it. So there's Douglas Newbigging and the 17 of Michael Sturgill. So Lucky Ducks are moving towards the front of the pond here. And here comes
here comes
Ricky
32
Springer down to the inside. That's a 3 wide behind.
Got scores to settle, Finian, back up the middle. And he was on the apron almost crashing a couple of laps ago, and here he is back in the mix looking for a top 5 run.
Yeah, almost zoomed around Sturgill, but had to back off that run. The run just died with the side draft he was facing from both lanes of traffic. So ended up dropping back to the outside lane. But Sturgill is still making some solid ground on the inside in behind the 18 of Ricky Springer.
Oh, the night car hard in the wall. Matthew Bell smacked it on the front straightaway. Big time crash with the right side of that car. Can he keep it straight? He will, but that was a really big impact here. Right on board.
Yeah, he's riding up on top, got a little bit loose, and then you're going to see the 7 of James Scioli, and then hit him, and then bam to the wall.
That's a big old jump right there on the number 9. That's going to take him out of contention for sure. Unless we get a caution here, that could save his race. Although he might be a part of the caution. Depends on how this next 20 laps or so goes. But now we got a little bit of separation here. Seems like the first 8 cars have been door to door. Jordan Martin there in 9th, 3 wide behind with Scioli and Balancino.
Oh, crash to the back straightaway. Big one. The 17 in the fence. And more. And this is it. This is the big crash.
No. There we go.
The 91's in it. Oh, the 16 takes the big lick.
And the big one has arrived.
There it is. Couldn't do it forever. Now the unwinding process of how we figure out.
It looked like for the longest time that it was just going to be 2 cars. The 17. We'll take a look at our Simrep Market replay.
Trying to see where this all starts. It was ahead of the 7, I think.
It was Gabriel Ellison, the 17, that was sideways.
The Michael Sturgill in the 17.
Oh, Sturgill.
Squeezes that up there. Is that the 88?
I think so.
Oh, man. What an unlucky break for the 88. It is. Oh, he comes down the racetrack, actually, and gets the 17. And that's where it... Oh, then the 1 and then the 91 get in it. Going to have to watch this one a little slower to appreciate all that happened here.
Yeah, so Slaughter gets loose, comes down, and makes contact with the 17. That's what offsets this whole thing. And then it seemed like it was just going to be those 2 cars. And then the 17, oh, no, it looks like Jake Nichols just got into the back of Seth Noel, and that's what set off this whole other part. It's because it seemed like it was just going to be those 2, and then the 91 and the 1 made contact, and that's what set off the rest of the wreck.
And then the 5 car almost had this missed. Garrett Grant, watch him here in the back of the shot, the red car. He's going to dive low, 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 and he thinks he's clear. Then the 91 right there clips him in the right rear, and he comes back across the racetrack here in a big, long skid, and almost, and right there gets tagged on the front in a bad way. Then the 16 and the 27, and it just keeps happening here more and more and more. The 8 of Rafe Slate also in it big time.
I think Bronson Stafford, if I'm getting it correct, I think got a pretty good view avoiding most of these.
Right there.
That's Stafford getting into it.
Yep. 16 right at the end. Pow! Into the wall he went. Let's ride on board with the Bronson Stafford machine and see if we can get a good perspective.
He can't see nothing up ahead. He's got cars all in front of him, and then they start checking up, so he already got some damage there with the 29. Past one part of the wreck, second part of the wreck, and then gets into the 8 of Race Slate. And still manages to avoid the 5, and didn't even tell who that was. It spun across the track.
On board with Garrett Grant. Oh, the 16 too. He might have almost had that missed. Right on board with Tom Bourne. Right here, almost through, then bam! But with all that, Eric, you got anything? We got the 1 to green here, so had a lot of replays and chances to look at all of it, but everyone just came to pit lane. What you got for us?
So 2 pieces of radio for you guys. I'll get here to in a moment, but everybody, 4 tires. They want that fresh rubber for this final sprint to the end. 20 laps, 19 going to be when they take the green flag. But here's the 88 radio from the wreck.
I don't even know what happened. I'm on pit right here. Find out what happened.
And meanwhile, I got Solar Flare Racing radio here for you as well. We were riding on board with Jake Nichols when this happened.
Oh, they're crashing.
Oh my fucking god. Oh my fuck.
Oh, I broke the Go XLR, guys. Well, DeLont Ballard was not happy with what was going on, so hence the issues there. But yeah, Jake Nichols said it spun, it's hurt, but he didn't take too many big hits. He thinks he will still have a car to try to finish the race with.
Yeah, it was a big bummer for the 88 in particular. Was one of the catalysts to the accident, but was by far the most dominant car today out front. That will relinquish the lead to the 23 and the 32 Finian. And we're going to re-kick it off with 19 laps to go. Here comes the chaos. I think it's safe to say that we have not seen our last yellow at this point. We did really well, but here we go. 20 laps to go.
Field comes to get the restart, clean and green, no issues, no domino effect, no bunching up. So here they go. But with 20 laps to go, we talked about it earlier. Cautions breed cautions. I have a feeling we're going to see something similar like that.
Well, pulled down on the bottom, trying to take the lead away from the 23 of Bowie as they go down the backstretch. Run on the outside, though. Springer giving the push to the 23. They're squirrely towards the bottom. Here comes Springer to the inside, looking for the lead.
Ricky Springer back to the top spot. He has not led this race in a very long time. He led some at the drop of the green flag, but now is battling up in the mix. The 23 has the 11 of Jordan Martin. Where did he come from? Someone who bounced off the fence was at the 84 of Yoneshiwu, and now they're 3 wide. Oh, that was... Yes, it was Culberson, as now they're 3 abreast in turns 1 and 2 again, Finian.
Yeah, Travis Beckner up on top on the outside of that 84. We mentioned Yoneshiwu now rocketing on that outside, almost getting to the wall, trying to get a big run. That outside is definitely where it seems the biggest runs are coming from. Here comes Martin out of the inside for the lead.
Oh, boy.
Oh, they're all over the place in the back. Yoneshiwu in the middle of a 3-wide pickle, but Jordan Martin with 17 to go, trying to win at his home track in Atlanta.
Jordan Martin has led 1 lap. That was lap 123. He needs to lead lap 140 to win this thing. Side by side with the 23, the 32 of JT Poole, going to give him a shot. The 71, the 24, the 23, they've all been up here. The 28 of Beckner wants into the mix too here, Finian, as we hit turn 3.
Indeed, I see David Weishart in the 33 ripping the outside lane, that red and black car you can see there. He's come all the way back from 36th. He's trying to get inside the top 10. He's being freight trained by some guys on the bottom, almost door the 81.
Oh, contact is all over in that 3-wide pickle there with Weishart and the 81 of Culberson as we ride aboard the 33 of Weishart, who's stuck on that outside, kind of in a third moving zone, just trying to get shuffled into the side-by-side action. Doesn't want to be a part of that 3-wide. He's still making contact. That's Tyler Nichols, brother of Jake, who's actually right behind him. So Jake Nichols is still in the race. That's pretty shocking. I thought he was out. But not out of it is that bottom of JT Poole shoving the crap out of the 11 of Jordan Martin as they are tightly bunched here in turn 1 and 2.
This is wild, wild stuff. The 33, he had his own lane, but it went away. The 24 drifts up the track just a little bit, maybe try to get some overlap on the 23. He can't do it. Now 2 organized lines down into turn 3 here, Finian, but the pushing and shoving is going to only get more intense and more wild the longer we go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only going to take one small mistake in this delicate tangle that everyone's managing to pull off inches away from one another as the laps wind down to cause a massive wreck near the front. We already saw a fairly big wreck. We could still see another one with everyone so close and piled up near the front of the field. Look at that. Look how tight the field is.
They're using every inch of the racetrack that they can, and they're so tight together because you don't want to get too out of line, and then you lose your spot. On that outside line, Brandon Bowie's trying to do all he can with the 24 of Curran, and right behind him is Area 500 winner Travis Beckner, slowly migrating towards the front. Jordan Martin still leading the way, blocking the bottom. Gonna have to block the top here. Here comes Bowie with a run on the outside.
Move your feet, lose your seat. Everyone's going to grab it when they can. But the 11 car power move to the top spot. Got the field doubled up behind him.
Ooh, and a big shove in behind from the 28 of Beckner to the 24 of Curran, who almost went to the outside of the 23 of Bowie, backed off of it for the moment, but the guys are getting aggressive. Ooh, Poole coming off the corner just a little bit, almost door the 23.
Gonna Gonna allow for a massive run here as here comes Bowie looking to the outside. 12 laps to go now as they head into turn 1. That's Herwin pushing him on the outside. Dead even in the middle of turn 1 into 2.
Well, how long can they do this for? They have to go 11 laps when they get back to the stripe. And where do you want to be right now? I don't know if anybody really knows. I think the inside or the outside is equally powerful depending on when you get the run that pushes you to the front here, Finian. But I like that bottom. I like that top. I just like being out front either way.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, if you want to be in any particular place, definitely the top. I want to be in the top lane. I see right now Martin going nowhere. The first 2 lanes getting clear. Almost Beckner able to get clear as a car on the apron. Robertson down low in the 64.
They're checking up on the inside because Jordan Martin just blinked, and that's why you saw the run that the outside line get. I mean, look at it. Here comes Springer down to the inside. The 11 who's blinking in and out, and that's what's holding back this bottom. Here comes Vector now trying to peek his nose in.
Not a good... Oh, this is not going to be a good situation with the 11 popping in and out of existence. Everybody's scattering around him. Not confident. You have to have confidence. You have to trust your opponents and their internet in a race like this. And the 71, 32, and 41 are side by side. The 23 and 28 banging doors off of turn 2.
I would argue it's a little too early for that, but it's also kind of late. 10 laps to go now for these drivers. The laps winding down. The aggression you can start to see pick up. It's only a matter of time. Here we go, 3 wide in the middle of the field.
In the middle of that are our brothers Jake and Tyler Nichols trying to lead their way on the outside with Rafe Slate. They were involved in the most recent caution, but they still have speed underneath those Solar Flare racing machines as Bowie and Beckner both going at it door to door. Coming out of turn 2 is going to get here on the outside.
Oh, there they go. Rafe Slate in the wall. 71 around. Big crash in the middle of the field.
Wow. Another 10, 12 car wreck, the 00. It's grinding to a halt, so does the 77. 72's in it as well, Aaron Smith. Douglas Newbigging. And 32 car was the first one I saw turned around. AT Pool. Another one for the slow motion category, I think. Already kind of missed the kickoff of this, so here they are, 3 wide mid-corner, and Finney and I knew it was spooling up the way they were racing like this, but let's see how it all kicks off.
Yeah, I'm not sure the 71 got loose or not. As they're coming off the corner, here they come. It's coming off of turn 2. It seems like the 71 went up a little bit. 8 came down a little bit. That kicked it all off, and there was really nowhere for anyone else to go. You can see the track getting blocked immediately by just a huge amount of cars.
Oh, and Jacob Bell. Nowhere to go for Jacob Bell. Look at that, Robertson. Woo! Great avoidance there from the 64 of Ed Robertson. Ron board with Jacob Bell, see what he saw first.
Oh, man, that was
literally blindsided.
Yeah, that was painful to watch, even for a sim crash, but big crash there.
Oh, and there's a crash on pit lane. The one in the 45 got into a little bit of a collision.
Here.
Parker brakes.
Oh.
No. Transition. Whoa. Well, Eric Weiland, you had a good view of that on pit road.
Well, thankfully, I was not standing down at that end of pit road where we decided to try to wreck. I am behind the wall, as I should be. But I can tell you guys that Rafe Slate not happy with the 71 car, which is what kicked off the incident. 71 kind of cleared hide himself. Here's radio from Vazikis Motorsports.
Whoever's in the 71 is the absolute worst driver by far.
As you can tell, Rafe very much not happy with Douglas Newbigging and what sparked that incident. But everybody that did come down 4 tires and feel some damage fixed for the guys involved in the incident. But that's going to be 18th on back that took tires, so the top 17 stayed out. Tires are only 15 laps old since they bolted them on, and with restart coming under 5 to go, I don't really think you need fresh rubber at this point. It's all about the track position. And if I'm you guys, I'm keeping my eye. Whoever's in third with 3 to go, excuse me, when they get going green, assuming they go green the rest of the way, my money's on the guy in third.
Well, we'll see how it pans out. I have realized that with all the chaos going on, we haven't talked much about the rest of the partners and people that make this happen. With only 5 laps to go, and we don't know if we're going to get another yellow, about time to talk about them. We've seen plenty of SimRat Market replays. Tonight, fans, be sure to check out simratmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple to use and help you stay more focused on the racetrack. Saw the 7 of Scioli in that most recent incident, but he pops out of pit lane, or pops out of the racetrack back into 12th place. And he's got the Rick's Hot Sauce. Well, he will have the Rick's Hot Sauce car later this week. Fans, be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Be sure to follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see who will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. And finally, if you're a fan of any driver tonight, be sure to check out Area iRacing.shop for merchandise to represent your favorite driver. Shop from our selection of t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, stickers, and more. Well, tonight we have seen and been treated to a very exciting, entertaining race. We're going to have 5 laps to go. Eric said he likes the guy in third. That's the 28 of Beckner, who was our Area 500 winner.
Yeah, well, he likes the 28. A lot of guys don't like the 28 at the moment. There's a lot of chat against Beckner publicly that his car is being a little bit too wide to some drivers' liking. So we'll see here. He doesn't have a whole lot of friends near him. We'll see can he manage with 5 laps to go.
5 laps to go here in the 6th round of the 2022 Area Cup Series season. A great restart from the outside lane. And here we go, back underway here from Atlanta.
And a very poor start for the 24. Sorry to cut you off as they actually get back going immediately with a big shove from Beckner.
I would say Beckner being talked about a lot by the drivers reminds me. Oh, big wreck in the back. Caution's out. Scratch that.
Oh, the 61. Ow.
Oh, Stafford into the wall hard. They just crashed big time behind the leaders. So we'll have to hold off on the Travis Beckner comment there and take a look at a replay of this massive wreck that just popped up out of nowhere.
Where did that start from? I want to know.
I think 19 in the 33 is where you want to look.
Oh, Ed Robertson, 64.
Right here.
3 wide right there. And
look at it. Right here, 64 into the back of the 29 of Rabel and gets the 33. Then, yep, he's just going to go up and come back down the racetrack, collect the 19, and kicks it all off from there on out.
And there's Senesac, nowhere to go, just pow. Right into the 33.
And how does Stafford get involved in
right
this?
There, it gets hooked by player.
Right there.
And Stafford ends up hitting the wall hard. Right on board with him. He's had a couple of hard licks tonight, I think.
Did a good job slowing down, came down low, and unfortunately just got clipped in the end and bam, hard in the wall.
And then into your living room is Bronson Stafford.
Oh. And this is when I would love 3D as a technology. Get some IMAX up in here. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure Eric would like some IMAX theater. Eric, what do you got for us?
I'm getting plenty down here, guys, because that wreck happened right in front of me here on the racetrack, but right here at the end of pit road. So as you saw, David trying to shove it 3. Ed Robertson, not too happy on the radio. I'm not going to replay what he said, but he was not happy with the guy that was complaining about going 3 wide, went 3 wide on him. So nonetheless, meanwhile, the talk of David Weishart Racing is more about this upcoming restart and the fact that they are not looking forward to it because they don't think they're going to get back to the white flag, guys. They're expecting a wreck here on this green-white checker, but this, I'm sure, as you guys have documented, will be the one and only chance we have at a green flag finish here to end the race.
Yeah, we actually didn't get a chance to get to that point just yet after covering the crash replays there, but yeah, this is our only attempt. We're going to be going into overtime past scheduled distance, so that means that if the caution comes out before we get to that white flag lap, the race is over. If we get to that white flag lap, anything goes, and we've seen that be messy a couple of times at plate tracks before, or I guess super speedway package tracks, no longer the plates, but it has been an interesting night, and we've had a couple races recently kind of end with these quick yellows, and I think everybody would love to see this go green to the end, but Eric, doesn't sound like a lot of drivers are super hopeful.
No, radio's still very volatile right now, so I am going to put my money down here. So I said if there was no more yellows, that the guy in third with 3 to go was going to win. Well, obviously there was another yellow, so green, white, checkered, restart here. I get to take a pick on, if I'm going to take a pick on a guy that's going to win this race. really would like to pick from two, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to pick the 84 of Cosman. I'm not even going to try his last name like you guys. I respect you guys for trying it. Cosman, he's been working his way forward through the field. This just feels like an Indy 500 type of vibe where if you've gotten yourself in track position up to the late in the race, you can be in position to make the move for the win. I fully expect that that's what's going to happen here. So my eyes on the 84, but if I, like I said, if I get to pick another driver, it's the guy that was inside there in the 18 car, Ricky Springer, as well.
All right, well, we'll see how it goes. This is going to be our one and only attempt at a green-white checkered. Finian, Eric had the 84. Who you got in this mix?
I mean, listen, Travis Beckner started in 30th, up 27 spots, up into third. He won the Area 500 earlier this season. I mean, it's kind of hard not to pick him.
Hunter, who you got?
I'm going to go with the leader of current. I was going to say about Beckner, about a lot of the drivers complaining about how he races and how he races other drivers and all that fun stuff. Reminds me of Ross Chastain, who just so happens to be Beckner's favorite driver, so maybe trying to replicate that, but he might have a shot. I'm going to go with the 24 of Curran.
I'm going to go with the driver that has led the most laps out of this group up front, Brandon Bowie, starting on the outside of the front row here. I think he's going to be the one to outsmart everybody here at the tail end of this race. 2 laps to go. Green, white, checkered, and green in that white checkered. We're underway again. A great restart from the inside lane. Beckner shoves Curran clear as we sail down towards turn number 1. Everybody biting their nails and holding their breath to get back around 1.5 miles.
Yeah, they got to be careful, though, getting too far ahead because they're going to get a big run, especially from the 18 and Ricky Springer, who's trying to catch back up to them. The big thing, though, as you mentioned, can we make it back to the white flag?
I don't know if they can. Springer going to look to the outside. Beckner to the outside as well. Bowie, big run on the outside. It's going to help the 18 of Springer. Meanwhile, Curran hoping to make it back to the white flag, or hoping for a yellow now. White flag in the air. One final time around Atlanta. Who wins it?
Here we go. 1.5 miles left. The 28 to the inside, the 18 to the outside. The leader gets sucker hold. The 11 gets turned. It's going to be a big mess in turn 2 as everybody scatters. Somehow they keep it straight, but no, there they go. A huge crash piles up the field as down the back straightaway, big hard hits. Ricky Springer leads. And here comes the 23 of Bowie to the inside. He makes a dive. Springer slams the door through 3 and 4. Coming back to the checkers. Ricky Springer sliced and diced at Atlanta out of turn number 4. Ricky Springer's going to get back to the stripe and win at Atlanta.
What a fantastic job. Beckner tried to come back on the 23. Couldn't get there in time. Bowie had nothing for Springer there at the end. Fantastic job by the 18.
What you saw right there, that was the spot to make the move on the white flag because you weren't going to have any other opportunity. And you saw the massive crash that happened back there. And Ricky Springer is the victor of said crash and of the race. The number 18 machine. And he's going to do some burnouts here on the front stretch.
We're going to watch him celebrate before we go back and watch the replays because I'm sure we can get tied up in that for a couple of minutes. Ricky Springer comes back around and celebrates his first victory on the season. Just timed that beautifully, got the run, and celebrates here at Atlanta. Burning it down. And that is a cool one. Springer gets it done in the number 18, and guess what? One of the hometown boys, Finian.
Yeah, I mean, really just nothing short of excellent maneuvering there at the end. Did exactly what it needed to get done. And the funny thing is he only started in second and went up just one position more up to grab P1 there at the end.
Well, let's go back. We have a lot to digest on this last lap here. Here's coming to the white. And then we're going to have to watch this. Let's just watch this in quarter speed and just try to get all of it in one go as we can because we got plenty more to talk about as we get into this here. So it all starts right here with the 24 getting sucker hold. The 7 as Scioli gets the 11 and starts tipping him around. But the crash doesn't happen until a little bit later.
Yeah, no, these guys sorry, they all saved it somehow. Even after all this, they saved it. Jordan Martin keeps it straight, but everybody's running each other over here trying to check up into the 12. Then there's the 84, not the 84, that's the 24. And then right here, everybody back here, nowhere to go. Slate, Mitchell, you name it, they're all in it. Just the door closes right here on the backstretch, and they all become one.
Oh, the 39 took a big lick there, and then I think one more that got in it big time. Yeah, the 61 miles in there and gets the 29. That was the big impact we saw. This one might be more impactful at full speed. Here's a look at it. And pow, there's the big hit there. Once, twice, bam. And then that big impact brings it around, and you see the damage.
Oh, man.
So,
still wrecking.
Let's go back in just a moment. We're going to listen to the radio on the number 18. Here it is.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on.
Come on, let's
go!
Oh, he's wrecking me.
Let's go, baby!
I should have forewarned our headphone users that we had AJ Allmendinger. No, excuse me, Ricky Springer on his coming to the checkered flag right there. What radio comms from Ricky Springer as he takes a victory here at Atlanta?
Wow, that was a wild one. Congratulations to Ricky Springer. Let's have a look here at our race results, and you're going to need to study them carefully because there was a lot of mix-ups there on that last lap. Some drivers that were up in the mix all night long that didn't finish there. Springer, Bowie, Beckner, Yonoshiwu, Scioli snags the top 5 after that. Culberson in the 81-6. Shane Abbey, we didn't talk about all night long, 7th place. Jake Nichols grabs an 8th. Tyler Nichols 9th. Alan Ballacino 10th finish, but the story starts a little bit past that.
Yeah, we're going to see some very familiar names here that just weren't able to seal the deal. Ray Slate finishing just outside the top 10, 11. Bourne, Smith, Ellison, Swan, Seth Noel back in 16th. Garrett Grant 17th. Robertson, Weiss are all the way back down in 19th with Chris Seidenfein and rounding out your top 20.
And then there's some more names up here. Michael Curran was up there and got caught up in that in the end. Jordan Martin was up inside the top 10. JT Poole had a good shot as well. New Bigging also was in it. Just a lot of big names that were up front towards, I'd say, the majority of this event that got taken out right at the very end.
Yeah, some painful ends to some really good races for a lot of this field. And that's going to end that evening. Let's talk to our third place finisher. It was Area 500 winner Travis Beckner brings it home third after a wild finish here at Atlanta. Travis, tonight we expected to see a lot more crashing than we saw, but when the crashes happened, they were big. You were ahead of them. Take us through your night.
Man, what a night. Was fun. Started 30th, got third. Good job for Ricky for winning the race. Happy for him. But sent it 3 wide earlier on in the race, and when anybody else does it, I guess it's okay, but when I do it, it's not. But then after that, got sent 3 wide myself by someone on the red line, and had to come back through the field again. Missed the wrecks, which was crazy because they all happened right beside me.
Well, it was certainly a wild night, Travis. Bring us through that last restart. It was all about where you positioned yourself. Anything else you could have done on that restart, or was it just kind of fate from there on out?
If I would have blocked the run a lot better than what I did, I think I could have had a chance, but just also didn't have any help behind me when they were 4 wide going into 4. And like I said, good win to Ricky, but who got second?
Brandon Bowie in the 23.
Ah.
Well, Travis, you sound worn out. We'll let you rest and enjoy it. Top 5 for the 28. Congratulations. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, but first I'd like to thank my sponsors, Collier Cutters Landscaping of Southwest Florida, McConey Setup Shops, Rick's Hot Sauce, and everybody at Miller Racing that was helping out tonight. And, of course, everybody in my family that's watching that could help me out with this. And y'all for having the amazing broadcast every time.
Thanks, Travis. We'll see you next week, or maybe, are we racing next week, or is it next time after that? I don't even remember.
Thanksgiving is next week.
I think we got Thanksgiving break off.
All right, we'll enjoy that. We'll see you in a couple.
Yep.
All right, Brandon Bowie brings it home in second in the number 23. Led a bunch of laps. Didn't quite pan out. Brandon, I had you picked there on that restart. I thought you were going to bring it home, but the inside lane got such a good launch. What could you have done different to bring home the checker tonight?
Man. Yeah, this one's going to sting, honestly. Not chose the high side. Honestly, maybe I could have controlled the restart, but as aggressive as that last restart was, I don't know. Maybe I don't even make it out of there because I saw them. They wrecked pretty big. So I don't know. And then I 18 was there, and so I was like, well, I'll just push him to the end and hope that maybe I push him maybe a little hard, and then he kind of slide up the track and kind of get underneath him, side draft him, and kind of battle it to the end like that. But all in all, it's I came here to put on a show. I know for sure. I know for a fact the likelihood of me making the playoffs and everything is unlikely. Unfortunately, I've missed a lot of races, but I just came out here to have fun. And man, between working with the 88 was probably the highlight of the night of us to slide job each other in the corners in 2 and 3. So man, what a crazy race. Actually, I kind of want to do it again. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I could probably go for it again.
Well, 141 laps later, got an extra lap even there, Brian, but you won 140 more. Congratulations, though, a second place, a strong run for you tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Kyle.
Move on now to our race winner, Ricky Springer gets it done, celebrated out at turn number 4, screaming on the radio, Ricky. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, that had to be a wild feeling as the field piled up behind you and there was nobody close enough in the mirror to do anything about it. Take us through your night, your race, and the slicing and dicing it required to finish out front.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. This Ghost Energy Toyota Camry was on rails, and it was good later on in the run. And I feel like that's where we kind of had everybody most of the night, was kind of saving those front tires and keeping us from getting tight. But a great push by Brandon there at the end. I mean, there was nothing that either of us could have done more perfect than to get out in front of that 28 car. And, everything throughout the night I felt like I did right. And I was just waiting for that one incident, like it's happened to me all season, to happen again and us to have another bad finish.
Well, looking through the race in terms of what we expected the pacing of the race to be like, I thought we were certainly going to get a caution around that pit stop sequence. How much did that kind of throw off any planning, and how much can you plan here? When you expect cautions and you don't get them, or you get cautions when you weren't expecting, it seems like it's hard to control your destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't really play the pit stop game under the cautions and everything like that. I kind of had a preset strategy that I was going to pit on these laps, caution or not, and fortunately it worked out for a lot of guys that didn't. So it's just it's a luck of the draw at this place. It's like any other super speedway, and you just got to be in the right place at the right time throughout all 140 laps.
Well, you're in the right place in the right time at the end of 141 to be exact, Ricky. Overtime victory. Congratulations. Celebrate this one, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely, and just quickly, I want to thank Ghost Energy for coming on board. They've done so much for me throughout this whole entire season of area and a couple other leagues as well. It's great to have them on the car. I'd like to thank everybody watching at home, and y'all do a great job up here.
Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate the kind words, and we'll see you next time. Enjoy the win.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, that's going to wrap up our conversations tonight with our top 3 results and finishers. Eric Wineland, real quick, final thoughts here at Atlanta.
Much more tame than I thought it was going to be, of course, until the end right there. But after what we saw last week at Gateway, I was really fearful for this race and how these guys were going to run it. But they kept it pretty straightforward. We got to see some tire fall off, some handling issues, which is, kind of Atlanta's characteristic, albeit on the new surface. I didn't expect it. But nonetheless, the guys that put themselves in the best track position late in the race were going on to win. And I flipped a coin and chose Cosman. I should have flipped the other way and chose Ricky because he ended up bringing home that W, and that was big for him and his team. Qualification to the playoffs as long as he's in the top 20 in points by the time the regular season's over.
Hunter, final thoughts quickly on Atlanta, 141 fantastic laps.
Well, at the end, it got very exciting. I still miss old Atlanta, but nonetheless, area put on a show once again in the Cup Series tonight. Tomorrow night, it's going to be the trucks that are going to get it done. And Eric, you're going to be in the Truck Series race, if I'm correct on that. Am I?
I need some help because the point situation is not looking too good. You might see me try to steal a checkered flag tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'll be in the booth tonight, or I'm already in the booth tonight. I mean tomorrow night, first truck race ever, so it's going to be a blast. Can't wait to be able to see all 3 races this week.
Vinny, and final thoughts in Atlanta and heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, no, like Hunter said, I miss all Atlanta, but this racetrack put on a fantastic show tonight. These guys did a fantastic job just trying to, for the most part, keeping the cars clean and green for majority of this race. Some excellent racing all night long. Few cautions here and there, but I think it was a lot better than what we expected going in, and I can't wait to see what the trucks do tomorrow night.
Got more races this week here on SimTV. Thanks again for joining us on twitch.tv/area iRacing. Kyle Heyer, Hunter Sleppy, Finney DeCuna, and Eric Weinland bringing the action. And it'll be Finney and DeCuna, Hunter Sleppy, and Connor Horn bringing to the action tomorrow from the Area Truck Series. We'll see you tomorrow in Atlanta. See you next time.